Okay, are we aware of any apologies from the attendants? No. Okay, right. Councillor Michael Duff.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, 2 people have died in the recent past that I would like to secure expressions of sympathy for their families, and if the protocol is appropriate, to send a letter accordingly. You can advise on that, but definitely expressions of sympathy. The first one would be to Councillor Green on the tragic death of his niece, Andrea Hackett, tragically killed in a car accident in the Dungannon Coal Island area in the very recent past. And I want to express my sympathy to Seamus and his family at this time, and on all our behalfs, I'm sure. And then secondly, Chair, Tom Mitchell died yesterday in Dublin. Tom Mitchell was the elected MP for Mid-Ulster, which included a significant part of our council area in 1955. He was elected twice. He died yesterday, aged 88, in Dublin. I knew him personally. In fact, he stayed with me on one occasion, came up and visited me and stayed over. And my own father used to describe his political supporters in the 50s as either Mitchell men or Mitchell women. There were difficult and challenging times, as always. Tom was a senior MP, and along with Phil Clark was the MP for Fermanagh South Tyrone as well. They were very famous people who secured a lot of electoral support in the 1950s, directly associated with our council area. So an expression of sympathy to Tom Mitchell's family, Gunyena Gia, Trukra, Erin, Anamaka, Ushra, both. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I think we'll move on to those. I'm sort of unsure as to whether the protocol would allow it. Maybe a personal letter from myself might suffice instead of a official council letter.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. We have a number of indications.
Chairman.
Yeah. We've just Councillor Wilson indicating.
Yes, Chair. Well, my memory of Tom Mitchell, or whatever his first name was, as an MP here, was his raid on the military barracks in Omagh. So I wish to be associated with that letter of condolences. Thank you.
Disassociated, you would mean?
Pardon?
You would like to be disassociated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. Oh, well, I would also, I don't remember him, but I know of him. Mr. Tom Mitchell, and as Councillor Wilson has rightly said, was involved in the raid in St. Lucia Barracks, and that's documented well in history as well. So I want to be disassociated with those remarks, as do my party. Thank you.
Chair, it was really just to clarify, and I think you mentioned yourself it would be a personal letter. This would actually fall outside of the council's protocol in relation to letters of sympathy in terms of elected members. Obviously, you can convey and be associated with those for family members, as you've indicated.
Okay. So I think that squares off that. We move now to confirm the assignment at council meeting held on the 7th of July, and this is for accuracy only. So we go through it page by page. So page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7. Page 7, Councillor Curry.
I was a wee bit quick off the mark. Page 8.
Well, we'll go page 8 then.
It's just accuracy again, and it's on the same point of accuracy from last month, which is a little bit frustrating. But my clarification last month was not in relation to buying goods online. That was a separate point which had been made by Councillor Armstrong. My clarification was on the original comments by Corrier McCann in his proposal that members of the public were paying for a service to be provided by Royal Mail, such as special delivery or guaranteed delivery, time-bound services basically, but were not being honoured. I think the two things have become conflated. So I just want to make the clarification that this is not just limited to online purchases. Obviously, there are difficulties there too, but this includes people who are paying for this service over the counter at post offices.
That's page 8, page 9. Yeah. Page 10 even.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, point 8, page 10.
Oh, there we go. That's
Sorry, apologies for that.
Oh, that's, and you're very early. I suppose the points are noted. Well, I mean, are you looking to be sort of clarified? Is that what you're sort of getting at?
Yeah, the point actually says that it's in relation to online. Let me just see if I can bring it up. In relation to customers who had ordered goods online with a guaranteed 24-hour delivery service and had not received goods in a timely manner. And that was initially the separate point that Councillor Armstrong had came in on, and she came in on it again last month. But my point last month was to clarify the original proposal. This isn't just limited to people making purchases online. This is people who are going into a post office, paying for a 24-hour delivery service or a time-bound delivery service and not receiving it. So it's two separate points. This the way that this is minuted is saying that it's only relating to people who have ordered goods online, and it's not only relating to people who've ordered goods online.
That's all right. I mean, there's two options here. Either we can choose to adopt this without that, and it can be brought back, or we can just sort of trust.
No, Chair. I think what Councillor Curry's suggesting is that we rectify the record, just to ensure that the 2 points are not conflated. As she said, the two matters have become confused, so we would amend the record accordingly with the members' consent.
Would you be happy enough with that?
Yeah, I am a little bit frustrated, I have to say, but yeah, happy for that to be clarified. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll clarify those. If you go through it now, so page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, can I get a proposer to note, or to adopt this? Councillor Thompson.
Proposed, Chair.
Councillor
second.
There we go. There we go. Okay, and we'll call that one done. Now, do we have any declarations of interest? Nobody is indicating, so we'll take that as Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I have three of different committees. Environmental Services, 5.7, Animal Welfare. As a dairy farmer, I think I maybe better to declare that. Regeneration Community Committee, 4.1, the Grant Aid Panel. P&R, 6.1, an ALGA member. Thank you.
That's all right. Those will be noted. I'll just take a wee hand down there as well, please, Councillor Wilson.
Give me a chance.
Any other declarations of interest? No. Okay. So if we move now to consider the report for the Environmental Services Committee held on the 7th of July and adopt the minutes. Go through it page by page. Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Councillor Curry.
Yes, Gurmagad clearly. Yeah, just on the recommendations there, the second set of recommendations, point number 2. representations to be made to the Minister for Infrastructure to ask the department to sign up to the All Ireland Pollinator Plan and associated hedge and verge cutting regime. I did reference that at the time. So if we could just include the verges in that too.
We can amend that, surely.
Good market, thank you.
Okay. So that's page 9, 10, and 11. Can I get a proposer to adopt those?
Proposed, Chair.
Hold on.
Second, Councillor Blake.
Councillor, I've heard the name, Councillor Blake, for proposing, and second.
Councillor McPhillips.
There we go. Anyone who doesn't want that to happen, please indicate now. Nope. Okay. Now we move to paper C to consider the reports of the RNC meeting held on the 8th of July. We'll go through it page by page. Page 1, 2, 3, 4. Councillor Thornton.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a point of clarification. With regard to the investigation into the proposed the committee, I take it that it's new to me, but will that include an interview of all councillors and staff attending the meeting and all relevant documentation? And with this type of investigation, because it's raised in public, I assume all the findings will be in public. Just a point of clarification.
Chair, well, just to confirm, firstly, we would report any findings back to the committee, and obviously the report associated would be published and therefore available. And yes, I would have thought, given the request for an investigation, it would be incumbent that all councillors involved in terms of the appeals panel, all minutes, all records would be shared as part of that investigation.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
That's just a clarification. So we go at page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Can I get a proposer to adopt these minutes?
I'd like to propose them, Councillor Maguire.
Okay, Councillor McGuire. Would anyone like to second them?
Second, Councillor Thompson.
Councillor Thompson. Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to not adopt these minutes? Please indicate now. Okay. That's that adopted. Now we move on to the Policy and Resources Committee held on the 8th. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Councillor O'Coffey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's just in relation to the minute there says that Councillor McAleer expressed dissent from the deed of surrender in regard to Necarn Estate, and obviously I would have spoke against it. So obviously I would just like to have that corrected so that my name was also down as opposing the deed of surrender of Necarn Estate. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. On page 4.
Hello, Chris.
Yep.
Sorry. On page 4 as well. I also spoke in opposition to that issue on the Necarn. Just if I could get that added as well. Thank you.
Chair, may I just clarify, did members, I wasn't at the committee, but members may have spoken in a certain way but not recorded their dissent. So I think if the members this evening wish to record their dissent, that can be accommodated, but it wouldn't suggest the minute is inaccurate.
Yes, I'd definitely like to record my dissent, yeah.
Well, then I think if we'd get a proposer and seconder accordingly, Chair, for this evening's meeting.
I actually spoke against the matter, so I assumed it was obvious that my differences. I think I prefaced it by saying that I was entirely unhappy what was happening. So,
Chair, I suppose procedurally they are two different matters, so members would have to formally record dissent if they were dissenting voices. So I think we pick those two dissenting comments up this evening in the record of this evening's meeting.
They would need to propose a second to be added to the.
Yes, Chair, we would.
So, Donal, are you happy to propose such?
Yeah, I'm happy. Go on.
And Eamon?
Yeah.
Right, well, that's, anyone wishes to oppose that? Nope. Okay. Page 6.
Chair, if I may just highlight to members at the bottom of page 6, members will be aware we've sent separate correspondence on this matter, but it relates to the nomination of Councillor Swift to the Drainage for consideration as appointment on the Drainage Council. Councillor Swift has already served 2 terms and therefore cannot be nominated as a council representative for a further term. So given the deadline, Chair, we would need, first of all, the minute to be adopted without that section, and secondly, to seek an alternate nomination this evening, please.
Councillor Michael Duff.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, can I propose Siobhan Curry to be our council's representative on the Drainage Council?
Okay, that's all.
Chair, Councillor McKeon.
Okay. Okay, so seconded. Any dissent?
Chair, could I propose Councillor Alan Rennie for that position?
Chair, just to clarify, Councillor Rainey has also served 2 terms previously and therefore cannot be considered as a nomination by the council.
Chair. Chair, my hand up here. Councillor Thompson here. I wish to propose Councillor Paul Robinson.
Chair, Councillor Robinson has already been proposed by the council and that application has been submitted.
Thank you, Alison, for the clarification. Thank you.
Councillor Feely, are you looking on this item?
Yeah, I was going to second Barry's proposal there, but I'm happy with Siobhan. So I proposed Bernice the first time, but I didn't realise that she'd already done 2 terms, so just sorry about that, and I was happy to second Siobhan. Okay.
Okay, and Eamon, is your hand just up from the last item there? Okay, grand.
Verloc, Bernice here, and just to give a wee bit of clarification, thanks for that, Councillor Feely. I do have to fill out and complete the current term as member of the Drainage Council, and I will do that. But the new members then follow on. So thank you for the proposals anyway last month. Thank you, Guramagat.
Okay, so that's that item dealt with. We move now on to page
7, Chair.
Page 7, Councillor O'Reilly.
Chair, it's just as a procedural matter. Can I just seek some clarification of Alison there that while we have a minute being questioned for accuracy and it's not inaccurate, that the minute indeed is accurate, that the 2 councillors hadn't dissented from an item from a vote. Surely there is a procedural question here that if I didn't vote one way or another and I then asked to be recorded as voting for or against the thing, you can't sort of, I would have thought, change a vote pattern at a subsequent meeting.
No, I think the issue on this one, Councillor, is that Councillor McAleer at the meeting specifically sought to his dissent. There was no specific recommendation around it, other than it was obviously included within the report around the deed of dedication. And Councillors Keenan and O'Coffey have indicated they spoke generally against the subject, but they did not ask for their dissent to be recorded, and the matter didn't go to a vote.
All right, so Chair, just so that I'm clear then, that when it didn't go to a vote, you can subsequent record your dissent from something if you haven't done it on the night.
I think, well, I would agree it's unusual, Councillor, but I think both members have indicated that they spoke against the proposed approach, and therefore they wish their dissent to be recorded. That's why I provided the clarification earlier. It would not be appropriate for the minute of the Policy and Resources meeting to be amended, and they could note that dissent at in the minute of this evening's discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor O'Coffey, same item.
Yeah, the issue is that I actually did speak, but obviously no one must have heard me. I was even quoted in a newspaper in opposing it, and then when the vote came up, Emmett said I heard him. He wanted to put his name, and I says I will do the same. but for some reason it didn't get recorded, but that's okay. If people want to listen, you may hear a slice of my voice, but this is the problem with the system. It's very difficult sometimes when people are moving on so quickly to maybe even, I should have said stop. I want to make sure my voice is heard, but I was happy enough to actually let it go. But the frank truth is that I did actually oppose it, but I'm happy enough it's just changed. But
okay, I think that's it all at this stage. Well, that's the items dealt with then, yeah. Yeah. So we move on now to page 7. Page 8.
Chair, page 8.
Yeah.
Councillor Irvine.
That's
Chair,
right.
in regard to item 9.2, I would like that referred back to the committee. And if that needs a proposal, I'm making the proposal. And if it goes to vote, I want the vote recorded. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson, to second that, Chair.
Okay. Was everyone happy that happens first?
No, Councillor Swift here, I would object to that, and I would ask that council powers are exercised as agreed on the night, the recommendation as read, that we, the council, write to the offices of An Taoiseach and the Department of Justice and Equality in support of Irish citizen Liam Campbell against his extradition to Lithuania to protect his human and civil rights as an Irish citizen against any human rights abuse. That was agreed on the night. So I would ask for the agreement here tonight that process takes place efficiently and effectively. I did state on the night, I prefaced my remarks, you will remember, Cahirlock, in saying that it was time bound, and the chairman heard that on the night. It's in the recording, as Councillor O'Coffey's off after alluding to there about the recording. So I would ask that this is moved as a matter of efficiency with the agreement of all present here tonight. Human rights are not optional. Human rights are inalienable, and they are universal. And it is on that grounds, and on those grounds alone, I had brought, as asked, to help and support to stop this extradition campaign to forward to all the members.
I am anxious, not because there's a motion on a similar topic, not to have the same debate twice. So there is a dissent in the chamber, and therefore I'm just going to put it straight to the vote. I believe I heard a recorded vote. So Alison.
Chair, so this is that the minute extract or section 9.2 is referred back to the Policy and Resources Committee. Councillor Armstrong.
For.
Councillor Baird.
For.
Councillor Blake.
For.
Councillor Buchanan.
For.
Councillor Campbell.
For.
Councillor Clark.
So I have to agree.
Councillor Coyle.
For.
Councillor Coyle. Councillor Deacon.
There's somebody with a microphone on just in the background there.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Come back to me.
Councillor Clark. Chair, do you wish me to?
I think you did
What,
that.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Okay, Councillor Sean Donnelly. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Erskine.
For.
Councillor Feely. Councillor Fitzgerald. Councillor Gannon. Oh, Councillor Fitzgerald for. Councillor Gannon.
For.
Councillor Garrity.
For.
Councillor Green. Councillor Irvine.
For.
Councillor Keenan.
Against.
Oh, okay, sorry. Councillor Green against. Councillor Irvine was for. Councillor Keenan.
Against. This is very time.
Oh no.
Councillor Catherine Kelly.
For.
Councillor Podrigan Kelly.
For.
Councillor Maguire. Councillor McAleer. Councillor McCaffrey.
And I against.
Councillor McCann.
For.
Councillor McCloughery.
For.
Councillor McElduff.
4.
Councillor McPhillips.
4.
Councillor O'Coffey.
Abstain.
Councillor O'Reilly.
What the hell are we at?
Against?
Councillor Rainey.
4.
Councillor Robinson.
4.
Councillor Smith.
4.
Councillor Swift.
Against?
Councillor Thompson.
4.
Councillor Thornton.
4.
Councillor Warrington.
4.
And Councillor Wilson.
4.
Okay, Chair.
Cycle back the ones who didn't, maybe. You know.
Do you wish me to?
Yeah, no, go on. Yeah.
Okay, so the chair has asked me just to return to those. Councillor Curry. Councillor Deehan. Councillor Anne-Marie. Councillor Deehan, thank you. Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. Councillor Sean Donnelly. Councillor Feely.
Against? Get that, Elizabeth?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Councillor Feely. Councillor Maguire.
4.
Councillor McAleer. And that's all members, Chair. Okay.
Yeah. Councillor McCloughy, are you looking in before or after the votes declared?
Chair, you need to proceed just to get the vote first. Okay. Chair, so that is 29 for, 6 against, and 1 abstention. So that's carried.
Councillor McCloughy?
Yes, so I can't really hear what's going on. It sounds like somebody's boxing in there. I don't know what's going on, but I really can't hear what's going on.
There was a microphone left on. Sorry.
Sorry.
There was a couple of microphones left on. I didn't pick up any signs of distress. But please, well, members, I'm looking through and everyone has muted, as far as I'm aware now. Yeah, everyone's muted, so I mean, we'll just keep moving on. I do want to say that there's Councillor Curry, are you looking as well? But I have to stress that the debate around this issue, should take place in the relevant committee.
Okay.
Councillor Curry?
Yeah, Gurmaga clearly. No, it's just, can I just have it clarified whether my vote was recorded there, because I made it the first time but couldn't get in quick enough the second time?
No, Chair, we have no vote recorded for Councillor Curry. We did go back.
I did make it the first time though.
I'm going to ask if that can be. No. Apparently, it's taken now. It wouldn't have changed the outcome, I suppose, but that's the way it is. Councillor Coffey.
Yeah, 2 things. First of all, I actually did hear. I heard Councillor Curry. I did hear. It was very faint, but I definitely heard it. Secondly, I just want to make an apology for Councillor McAleer. His wife's gone into labour, so he's missed the meeting.
Oh, I wish him and his wife all the best. Councillor Feely.
Thank you, Keely. No, James, I think that's very unfair on Councillor Curry there, because I face internet problems there too, and I got it typed in as well, you know, and I just made it there as well. I know what's wrong. This last 2 nights mainly bad now, so I think that's very unfair now on Councillor Curry.
Chair, I'm sorry. Certainly, I don't see anything in the chat function, but I have no. I'm not disputing members, but I certainly heard nothing on either occasion, and no one within the chamber heard that vote.
I also heard Councillor Curry. Yeah.
I suppose, Chair, the issue here is the vote has now been taken and the result of the vote has been recorded. So the vote has been carried.
I propose to. I don't see any way around this, so I propose to move on to page 9. I don't think it changes the outcome, and it'll be dealt with in committee. So page 9. And we have a couple of hands up here. Councillor Feely, is your hand up just from the last one? Councillor Baird and Councillor Baird, are you looking on this at this stage? No. Eamon? No. Okay. Page 9. So we'll now move to adopt the minutes with the exception of the item that the council decided not to adopt. Do we have a proposer and seconder for that?
Proposed, Councillor McCann, Chair.
Okay,
Councillor
McCann.
happy to second.
I missed that second one, sorry.
Councillor Armstrong, happy to second.
Okay.
You got my proposal, Chris, yeah?
Sorry?
You got
your
my
proposal,
proposal.
yeah, we got your proposal.
Okay.
Anyone who doesn't want that to happen, please indicate now. Okay, that paper is passed. We confirm, so we now move on to item 7 to confirm the minute planning committee. Go through it page by page. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7.
Proposed, Councillor Irvine.
Seconded, Councillor Thompson.
Okay. Anyone wish to dissent from that? Nope. Okay. Paper pass. We now go to item 8, which is the matters arising from the council meeting on the 7th of July. I'll go through that page by page. Oh, somebody has a microphone still on. I'll find out who it is. Robert, your microphone's still on there. Just appreciate if you admit it. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12. Councillor Coffey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's just in relation to page 11, number 9, the dissatisfaction I expressed in regard to the documentation business case in relation to Kelly Keegan, I think it was. I have since received an amount of correspondence from the Chief Executive, and I just, my understanding, if I get it right, is that we have made a decision in relation to the purchase of, or rather the advancement of a project for construction of car parking and a number of other amenities to the value it ended up, I think it was 325 or 425,000. And my real question is that if I understand the correspondence correctly, we did so without actually having an economic appraisal conducted of it, despite the fact that the overall value of the project was more than 250,000, which I understand is the threshold for the conduct of an economic appraisal as per Green Book regulations or guidelines from the Treasury. So really, my question is over, I take from the correspondence that this was because this was the mechanism imposed by the LDP, which requires, it appears, for an application and actually construction to begin on site before an economic appraisal is conducted, in order that they would provide funding to us, provided that there's match funding from the LAG local, the LAG group. So I'm just quite concerned, really, that this seems to be, if this is the way we go about things, I'm kind of concerned, because I would have thought a business case was required for a development of that scale. And in particular, one of the problems is that the lack of an economic appraisal has resulted in the case where there's been an inflation in costs, an unanticipated inflation of 75,000, which wasn't picked up because there wasn't an optimism bias analysis conducted ahead of the decision to proceed with the development or the project. So really, it's a question for the Chief Executive, but I do take on board that an outline business case was provided, although I wouldn't call it a business case, as I've said before, because it doesn't comply with the Green Book standard for business cases, but it is in the format of a business case. but it still actually brings even further questions to my mind around how we're making decisions on very large projects without a full appraisal of the economic need and case for them.
Councillor Curry, I need to see you, but I'll bring you in after the
Yeah,
exec.
Chair, happy to provide further clarification on this, and as Councillor O'Coffey indicates, I have been in correspondence with him on the issue, and some of the information he's relayed back is certainly not reflective of the information provided. So to summarise, Chair, and I am mindful that this matter has been discussed now on a number of occasions, members will be aware that for some time there has been an issue regarding car parking at the Quilca Boardwalk. The Council commissioned an economic appraisal to deal with the consideration of how parking could be addressed, which ultimately recommended the acquisition of private sector land, privately owned land. The Council originally supported that finding within the economic appraisal, and the need for additional parking was the principle for that was obviously established. The Council then decided that you did not wish to proceed with the purchase of land, but rather to proceed with the vesting process. We clarified that with our funders, or the potential funders, namely the Rural Development Programme. The Rural Development Programme reviewed the original economic appraisal, which was completed to the required Green Book standard. They deemed that the principal need for car parking had been established. They invited the Council to revise a project submission on the basis of their business case template, which required us to identify the key aspects of the project, which were now at the Killykeegan site. The process, and I'm a little surprised as this has been the process throughout both this Rural Development Programme and previous Rural Development Programmes, so it's certainly nothing new to rural development funding, is that the funder, when they proceed or choose to proceed with funding of the project, they commission the economic appraisal. So the Council's economic appraisal determined need, the template business case submitted satisfied the funders' requirements. The funders then accepted the business case template and have now commissioned the economic appraisal for the project. I highlighted to members on the few occasions when this matter has been discussed that we will only be proceeding with this project if we receive grant aid. So I said at the previous meeting, Chair, that the project has been completed, or this work rather, potential project has been completed in accordance with our requirements and in accordance with the funders' requirements. And I look forward to the LAG viewing the project favourably so that the grant aid may be forthcoming.
Okay. Councillor Curry, same item, yeah?
It's just to declare an interest. I didn't foresee discussion on this, so I'm a member of the LAG. Thank you.
Okay.
And Chair, one other point I should just clarify, and I did make this point in writing to Councillor O'Coffey, it is the Council has to complete, or any applicant, procurement processes, but not enter into contract. So it is erroneous to suggest we have entered into contract in this project.
Okay. Councillor Deehan.
It's a different item, Chair.
Well, we'll square this one off first, and then we'll come back to you, sure. Councillor Feely.
Thank you, Lee. I'm not that sure either, because I'm just coming in to say I'm a member of the LAG as well, and also a member of the Geopark Joint Board Committee, just in case anything pops up on that, just declaring an interest.
We'll declare an interest on that. Councillor Rainey.
Declaration of interest, Chairman. And the last item, and the.
Okay. Councillor Irvine.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is the second or third time that Councillor Coffey is raising the question of the validity and, I suppose, the veracity of our senior executives carrying out work on our behalf. Might I suggest he has a private conversation with either the director or the chief executive to get himself sorted out in regard to this. The assurances that were provided by the director and the chief executive would appear to be well placed for the majority of us. If he has a particular issue to sort out, he needs to get it sorted out directly with the director rather than using a platform like this for his own furtherance. Thank you very much indeed, Chair.
Councillor Armstrong.
Chair, I'd like to also declare declaration of interest, member of the LAG board. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McCloughery.
likewise member of the lag.
Two hands still up. Councillor Clark.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, Shirley.
Likewise, member of the lag.
We'll record that. And Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. I wish to be associated with Councillor Robert Irving's remarks there. I mean, this is going on and on. We're wasting time here, valuable time. We should be not our meeting. Just want to be supportive of Councillor Irving's remarks. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there's no proposals coming out of that. Declarations of interest have all been recorded. Councillor Clark, your hand's still up just. So I suggest we move on. Councillor Robinson. Oh.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Declaring that this is a member of the lag.
Grant. Okay. Right. Well, we'll move on now. Page 9, page 10. Was page 10 you're looking in on? Yeah.
Sorry, Chair. I'm sorry about this, Chair. If you would permit me just to go back a little bit, just to ask a small question. Are we proceeding with investigating hybrid meetings? Just to ask that question,
yes.
Chair.
Yes, Chair, we are, and we'll be reporting that back to members.
Thank you.
Okay. Paul, your hand's still up, but I'm assuming that's just from the previous. So page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, and page 17. Okay. We now move on to correspondence, item 10.
No, sorry, Chair.
Oh, sorry, no, you're item 9, to consider a request for the illumination of Enniskillen Castle School Arts Centre, Mark Pride Day.
Thank you, Chair. Just to advise, Chair, members will be aware that the Council's policy refers to lighting up requests by charities or events organised by the Council itself, either directly or in partnership with others. This request has come in from Councillor Campbell in his capacity as diversity champion for the Council, and he has requested that the Council buildings, namely the Struil Arts Centre in Omagh and Enniskillen Castle, would be illuminated to mark Pride Day on either Saturday the 1st of August, which would coincide with Belfast Pride, or Saturday the 29th to coincide with Foyle Pride Day. The dates are available, Chair, and just to say the equipment at the Struil Arts Centre would allow for multiple colours, but at Enniskillen Castle it would not. So as the request is not from a charity, Chair, it would be up to the Council now to determine its position on this.
Okay. Councillor O'Coffey.
Right. I had my hand up because I was wanting to come back on that earlier matter, but my internet cut out and I'm only just back, so I'm just turning the hand off.
Okay. So. Councillor Campbell. Cut out again there.
Sorry, yes, Chairman. I suppose I can confirm that I understand there that there needs to be a charity request in the illumination, and I have spoken to the Fine Centre in Enniskillen, and it's my understanding that they are submitting a request, perhaps this evening, and may even have sent it already, but I believe it was maybe the 29th of August, which was possibly more suitable. We give more time. It may coincide with a socially distant event that they organise. So I would just maybe suggest that if the request hasn't come in at this point, is there any way we could approve it pending receipt of the request?
Well, I'm just going to stop you there because I think procedurally you might not be.
Oh, no, the Chair, it's just to, well, firstly, we have no request, but there's no difficulty in the Council itself agreeing this course of action. It's just that so the Councillor Campbell can proceed on that basis of the 29th of August, Chair, if there's a proposed rather, and if there's a seconder, and then obviously we'd seek the views of members.
I take it that you propose that, Councillor Campbell?
I second
that. Hold on.
Yes.
Yep, you happy enough? Okay, the next in line is Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Chair. No, I'm very happy to see this proposal. I think that it is
timely. I think that it is disappointing but inevitable that with COVID that a lot of the planned physical celebrations that were envisaged for this year for Pride had to be cancelled, and obviously people have had to think innovatively and creatively about how they may be done this year. But I think that it's enormously positive that this would happen, and it would signify our solidarity with the LGBT residents in our district in their fight for liberation and for equality in Northern Ireland. So more than happy to support this. Thank you.
Okay. Got a few names up here. Councillor Dehan.
Well, thank you, Chair. I had just come in to second Councillor Campbell's proposal and thank him for bringing this forward as diversity champion. I think it's so important that we should, as a council, show our respect and support for members of the LGBT community, and therefore I want to be supportive of Councillor Campbell's proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Swift.
Yes, also I wish to be associated with the positive remarks and commend Councillor Campbell on his proposal to light up for Pride. And as has already been said, we need to be supportive because obviously all rights matter. And good luck to the event.
Okay, his hands are still up from a number of people who spoke. But Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in on this issue. I was listening to the debate there and how that this I thought maybe there was a charitable status for the group, but I wouldn't be supportive now. I would wish to record dissent to that proposal. I know we've all got our views on Pride and things like that, but I would have a very faith-based view, and I just wouldn't be in support of that. So we're all democratically elected, and we hold our own views on these things. But I would be opposing that going through. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. Just to come in to say, obviously support this illumination because it's a very important issue, and a lot of people were very much looking forward to the Pride events this year. And obviously, myself and some other councillors were hoping to facilitate an Enniskillen Pride or a Fermanagh Pride, but that's a project for next year that hopefully the council will get behind at the time. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Glenn, your hand's still up, and Mark, your hand's still up. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, look, this is something that I would have my own personal opinion on as well. I wouldn't be a fan of it, but from a party, I will be giving our members a free vote to vote with it whatever way they want, but certainly I wouldn't be agreeable to it. Thank you.
Well, that's two, so we'll probably put it to a vote at the end of all this. Councillor Curry.
Just to add my support to this, I think it's actually entirely appropriate that our diversity champion for the council is able to make requests such as this, to stand up. Diversity champion is often standing up for minority groups who may not have the confidence to come forward themselves. And I support what others are saying about planned events this year. I would, though, just ask that planned events do actually involve the LGBTQ community, and that conversation happens in the future, but very happy to support this. Thank you.
Okay. I've got a request for a recorded vote, but that'll be taken in the chat just. And final comments from Councillor Baird.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In principle, stand against it. My only concern is it's always back to policy, and if we deviate from policy, do we set a precedent? Could I just have clarification, because I missed a bit of misconnection there. This is not our policy. I take it as that it's charities that we do it for. It's not coming from a charity. It's coming from our diversity champion. Is that correct? But the question simply is: would we be setting a precedent by deviating from the policy, or are we deviating from the policy by agreeing? Thank you.
Chair, the policy, the council's policy refers really two aspects, either to lighting up requests by charities or events organised by the council itself, either directly or in partnership with others. And if it is coming from a charitable or a community or other organisation, it has to be a charitably registered. We have had examples, Chair, in the past, most recently during the illumination of the NHS for blue for COVID-19 on a Thursday evening. So there have been instances when the council has considered illuminations and have proceeded to illuminate accordingly. So the policy itself is specific, but there is an opportunity, obviously, in all such matters, Chair, for the council to take a view.
Oh, there's somebody with a microphone on there as well. Just
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Coffey.
Yeah, I was caught on the blind by the fact that I only just got my internet back, because the last thing I heard before this was Alison trying to answer my question. But in any case, it's obviously very important that this council takes a strong position in defence of LGBT rights and in support of people from that community and that background and those orientations. Because the reality is that there's a lot of remaining homophobia and transphobia, and that people can feel very isolated. That's a genuine problem, and I do take on board what Councillor Curry said there in relation to Pride events needing to involve people from the LGBT community. In fact, should be led. I would obviously, we would all prefer by them, but the reality is that many people from that community, as Councillor Curry will know, feel very threatened, even today. And this is a very difficult thing in Fermanagh still to have a Pride Day. It's no accident that we are so far behind, and that there is constantly and ongoing homophobic attacks and abuse and so on. It does happen. And I've heard it many times responded to me. So I think it's important that we, as a corporate body, as the leadership, in terms of the representative of the political spectrum elected by the people, that we show our commitment to the defence of that people from the LGBT community. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Pastor Maguire, I mean, it is going to go to a vote, making all our positions there, but just keep it brief, please.
If it just could come in on a personal note, and just slight concerns about references to that community and particular words like that. I think personally, I have family members that belong to this community who are of that persuasion. I have no problem supporting them as individuals and their equality within this district. And I feel it objectionable that some councillors would feel that some people should be treated differently. We're all supposed to be democrats. If we believe in equality, everyone is equal regardless of their sexual orientation. And on a personal level, I certainly support the Pride movement. I know the people, the members of my family, are proud of themselves, and I am proud of them too.
Okay. Just for information, the email from the Fine Centre has just came through now, but I think we can just move on it anyway. I've got hands up from. I mean, Glenn, you've already been in before, so I think we can just take this to a vote. To be honest, Councillor Feely, please be quick. No way. I think we just put to a vote. There's been a recorded vote requested by Councillor Swift, and that is
okay. So this is then for the illuminations, Chair, to coincide with Wild Pride Day on the 29th of August. Councillor Armstrong?
For.
Councillor Baird? Councillor Blake? Councillor Buchanan?
Against.
Councillor Campbell?
For.
Councillor Clark?
For.
Councillor Coyle?
For.
Councillor Curry?
Ivavor, for.
Councillor Deehan?
For.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly? Councillor Sean Donnelly?
For.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly?
For.
Councillor Elliott?
Abstain.
Councillor Erskine?
Abstain.
Councillor Feely?
For.
Councillor Fitzgerald?
I heard something there, but it's quite faint.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
4.
Councillor Gannon.
4.
Councillor Garrity.
4.
Councillor Green. Councillor Irvine.
Against.
Councillor Keenan.
4.
Councillor Catherine Kelly.
4.
Councillor Podrigan Kelly.
4.
Councillor Maguire.
Stephen Multa, 4.
An apology from Councillor McAleer. Councillor McCaffrey.
Yeah, Lahayan Multa, 4.
Councillor McCann.
4.
Councillor McClaughry.
4.
Councillor McElduff.
4.
Councillor McPhillips.
4.
Councillor O'Coffey.
4.
Councillor O'Reilly.
4.
Councillor Rainey. Councillor Robinson.
Against.
Councillor Smith.
4.
Councillor Swift.
4.
Councillor Thompson.
Against.
Councillor Thornton.
4.
Councillor Warrington.
Against.
Councillor Wilson.
Abstain.
Councillor Rainey, against.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, could I put my vote in? Sorry, Alison, I missed it there.
Yeah.
Councillor Blake here.
Councillor Blake.
Yeah, 4.
Okay, Chair, that's Chair, that is 27 for, 6 against, and 3 abstentions. So that's carried then, Chair.
Okay. If we now move to item 10, correspondence. First correspondence is from
Yes, Chair, this is correspondence from DFI Rivers in relation to the works at Bracky Bridge, Beara, County Tyrone. The Council did have previous correspondence from DFI Roads on this matter. So, as members will have seen, they've indicated that there's works on this watercourse will be inspected in the 2021-22 financial year, and any identified works would be carried out in the following year, subject to available resource and environmental considerations.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, Chair. Well, you know, for the people out in that area, this is a total disgrace. That bridge is down now, I'm quite sure, somewhere in the region of 3 years. And it must be at least a year ago, if not more. I was told by the River Agency that they had £400,000 sitting there to do that. You know, the local people there to get to feed cattle on their farms and different have to make long detours. Other ones trying to get to their work have to do similar. So I don't know what the problem is, but I'm really annoyed on behalf of the people out in that area that nothing has been done so far, and it's a total disgrace. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Now, I suppose something like similar to Councillor Wilson, we've fought for this for over 2 years. So I'm glad to see now that coming from a letter from David McKinney that things is going to start. I think that's the most important part. But there's no good. We're all talking about it's just disgraceful in this day and age. You know, it just shows what to think of the people, the residents from on the South Tyrone. Thank you, but I'm glad to see things going on ahead. I know. Okay.
And Chair, members would wish to note.
I'm just
sorry.
seeing an indication here from Councillor Michael Duff. Yeah, Councillor Michael Duff.
I just want to support both councillors in relation to Bracky Bridge. I've been contacted by people who live in that area. They emphasise the inconvenience that it has been for them for over 2 years now, well over 2 years. So I'm proposing, Chair, that we specifically address this issue in the September meeting with DFI Roads, that we continue to hold them to account for the timeline that they've outlined. They said they're going to start the work in September and they're going to complete it in early 21. So I think it should be a priority for this council to hold DFI roads to account for that timeline. Thank you, Chair.
I am seeing an indication by Councillor Wilson again.
Chair,
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. As long as it's just a second, I think that will be fine. Anyone disagree with that? Please indicate now. No. Okay, that's the action. Maybe anyone wish to note this piece of correspondence?
Well, Chair, we've the course of
Well,
action, so I
that's
think
fair point,
we're
yeah.
okay on that. We can respond. Chair, the second item of correspondence is a reference from Derry City and Strabane District Council about motions that were passed recently. Our normal procedure is to note such correspondence, Chair, note such motions, but I'm mindful a number of these matters were actually dealt with by the Council at its previous meeting. Quite similar courses of action were pursued, recommended to be pursued.
Proposed noting, Chair. Councillor.
Well, hold on a second. Councillor Curry's up first.
Yes, Gormagada Caherly, just to comment on these motions, two separate motions there, I believe, from Derry City and Strabane. And of course, we would have supported them, of course, and we did in Derry City and Strabane as well. We support and always have supported an island-wide health service free at the point of entry. And of course, we aspire to domiciliary care being under that wing. We also have good examples, good current examples of All Ireland working with the Cancer Centre and paediatric and cardiac services as well. Just Chair, there is a campaign for an All Ireland health service that's free at the point of delivery, and it's gathering momentum. You know, there's a lot of conversation out there, and I would like to propose that we invite representatives from that campaign to address the council at an informal meeting, please. Well, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. Councillor Baird, you're indicating?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Just as I look down this, another example of councils getting involved in matters outside their remit instead of concentrating on what's best for the ratepayers. I know people will disagree with what I say, but that's my point. Domiciliary care services, if they went back into the National Health Service, who would pay for it? Private companies are the only people can keep that going. In relation to two divergent health strategies, yes, there are. They are working in some cases through cross-border cooperation, and that's wonderful. But to call for a united service when the services are so different, while our service in Northern Ireland is far from perfect, it is certainly a lot better than the service that pertains in the Republic of Ireland. If you want to go for a doctor, you get a €50, I think, for an appointment. So if this was going to go forward, I have no problem with cross-border cooperation in any sense. But until there's a system in the Republic that could meet the needs of the people of Northern Ireland, on the level that we have at the moment, I think it's pointless going down that route. If Councillor Curry there mentions about someone coming in, no problem with anybody coming in. I'm more than interested to learn. At my age, health is an important matter, but I would propose that we note this. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, Councillor Baird's right. It is outside our remit. We do welcome cross-border cooperation where it's mutually benefit to all, but with regard to ROA, they just simply cannot match the NHS. But like Councillor Baird, we welcome anyone to come into our council and to an informal meeting and listen to what they have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Eamon?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd fully support what Derry and Strabane's saying. They are very similar to the proposal I made on Tuesday night. And just with regards what Mr. Baird's saying, if we look back to Tuesday night and the response we got from the RQIA, they stated that it was the NHS that kept the private companies going, not the way he's suggesting. So it actually does prove that the private companies aren't fit for purpose, and I think that was the gist of the proposal on Tuesday night, and fully support Derry and Strabane. And I'd second that, yeah.
Okay, Councillor Sean Donnelly. I can't hear you, Sean. Okay, no, that's great. Councillor Swift.
Just to second Siobhan, Councillor Curry's proposal to invite the speakers. Yeah, you got that?
No, it's already been second actually, but yeah.
No, it hasn't, Chair. Councillor Keenan said he supported.
He just said he supported the letter from Derry and Strabane. Don't worry, Chris. I'll keep you right. I'll keep you right, Chris. Okay.
Oh, I thought I had it. That's all right. That's grand. There's a lot of hands still up from before, so if your hands are still up, please take them down. Councillor McCann.
Chair, my hand's up on a point of order.
Chair, I just want to add my support there just to the speakers coming in, and also, to put our vision out there on the table of all Ireland health service, which is free at the point of access for everybody on the island of Ireland. And I welcome the fact that we can have a conversation on how this may look like and what it may entail. So I welcome the fact we can have a conversation with the speakers whenever they come. Thank you, Chair.
Point of order by Councillor Baird.
The convention in this chamber is that we address each other as councillor, not Mr. I know he's new, but I would just like to point that out to him. I'm happy enough to accept Alec on a friendly term, but the Mr. bit just doesn't go down well in the chamber. But he'll learn. Thank you.
Well, I would be guilty of not always addressing people by their councillor name as well. But I'll try to do better. Councillor Deehan.
Chair, thank you, Chair. Well, many years ago, I was a very, very strong advocate for retaining care home provision and domiciliary care within the NHS. And that was a battle which we fought long for. And sadly, our arguments did not prevail. And so we saw excellent care facilities like Gortmore Home in Omagh closed. Ostensibly because the buildings did not meet modern standards. So I do think that is a retrograde step. I think the COVID crisis has demonstrated that when it comes to the independent sector and the care that they give and their access to resources, particularly in emergencies, that the NHS cannot be matched. And so I very much regret the policy decision by the Department of Health to abandon NHS provision for a nursing home and residential home facility. So I think that's a matter of some regret. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor McCann and Councillor Baird hand are still up. Councillor McElduff.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Chair, I don't think we can afford to ignore north-south health issues, and I think Councillor Curry's proposal is very, very sensible. I mean, GP cross-border services matter in some communities. I mean, the Health Minister himself, Robin Swan, has highlighted the importance of all-island congenital heart disease care and cooperation and working together. Our Health Trust works very closely with the Northwestern Health Board in the delivery of a number of projects. Now, I agree with Councillor Baird on one thing. There should be no charge for access to a GP north or south. And our spokesperson, our TD, who champions health issues, Louise O'Reilly and David Cullinan among them, they have been championing in the Oireachtas the campaign against charges for access to a GP. So that's wrong. It shouldn't happen. And in an all-Ireland health service that we envision, we would embrace Councillor Baird's vision of free access to a GP. So I think we just want those issues on the record. We can't ignore north health issues. and I'm very much in support of hearing from the relevant campaign group. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Baird, your hand is still up, and I am unsure as to where. There we go. Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, obviously, we're all for the optimal provision of health services on a maximal extent of cross-border, north-south, east-west linkages. I think the reality is that a number of services are provided well on an east-west basis as well as north-south, and I think all those should be looked at. I totally agree with Councillor Keenan about the need, and Councillor Deehan about the need for care homes to be brought back into public ownership. It is a singular disgrace that private profit is involved in the provision of care and nursing at the most of our most vulnerable people in the most tender age of their lives, and it can't go on. We have major failures right across care provision, and it is primarily because it's underfunded, but it's also because there's private profit involved. So to bring them back in-house, as well as the likes of dentistry, are key objectives for socialists. Also, the idea, really, the question mark is for those who propound the possibility of an NHS in the Republic of Ireland, how such a thing could be afforded alongside tax haven corporate tax rates, which are insufficient to fund public services, insufficient to fund free healthcare for all. And in the South, people unfortunately have to pay £50 to see a GP. That's a disgrace. And the idea somehow of Micheál Martin, a person who we cannot even elect or diselect, having some role or input over services in the Northern Ireland, and the idea of cross-border provision, which has been used in the past as a battering ram, to take out services out of Enniskillen because they could be provided in Sligo or whatever. I think all of this needs to be thought about. I would like to see an NHS in the South and in the North, but I think we need to have one on the basis of a commitment to equal services, and there should be maximum north-south and east-west linkages to improve healthcare for all. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Sean Donnelly.
No, sorry, Chris. Sorry, Chairman. Did you get that? I thought you didn't hear me regarding Barry's proposal. Did you get me that time? That's all I want to say. I was seconded Denise's proposal. That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Councillor McCloughy.
So, Councillor Coffey, I think, has touched upon most of what I was going to say. I mean, it's very simplistic in its views, and I'll be very interested to hear what this group have to say. The elderly relative homes and different forms, the best care that we can provide is what everybody's for. So anything can improve healthcare would be of interest, but I can't see how we can get the funding and the quality of systems across the border.
Okay. Councillor Paul Blake.
Sorry, Chair, just unmuting myself. It's not often I find myself agreeing with Councillor Coffey, but I do on this occasion. I think people are getting themselves sidetracked by talking north-south, through the NHS. I think it's more important that we sort out what the issue is here. We have enough problems going on, especially within the Western Trust, that start talking about something like this right now is certainly not the time. So I would support Councillor Coffey on that, but we need to not get sidetracked and just think about what's going on here. Thanks.
Okay, well, I've got 3 hands up that everyone spoke before, so I'm going to put this to a vote. That's Councillor Curry's proposal and seconded by Councillor Swift. We invite relevant campaign people to address us at a later date. Does anyone have any objections to that? If they do, please indicate now. No? Okay, that's passed. That item dealt with.
Sorry, Chair, I'm having difficulty hearing what you're saying. I don't think your mic's near enough to your mouth, with due respect.
Due respect. What about now? Better?
You're loud and clear now, Chair.
There we go. There we go. Right, so that's that item dealt with.
Chair, item The next item of correspondence, item 10.3, is from the Department for the Economy regarding the priority dispatch provisions of EU electricity regulation consultation. And members will see the closing date for this consultation is the 8th of September. And there was a wish that this was brought to members' attention for your consideration.
Chair.
Okay. Barry, your hand's been up from before, but I'm assuming that's you want to speak on this.
I want to say something on this, which might
Okay.
move on. Chair,
Go on.
can I propose that in relation to item 10.3, that we defer that to the Environmental Services Committee meeting on Wednesday, the 2nd of September, with full council powers?
Yeah, Chair, I suppose just to say we wouldn't intend from a council perspective doing a response to this, but we would certainly happy to defer it for further consideration if parties wish to submit on their own right.
Chair, can I just second the proposal there? I think there's merit in formulating the council response to that, and I'm happy to second Councillor McIndoff's proposal there.
Chair, I'm happy that we concluded, but just to say we would not have the expertise now to respond on electricity matters, but we can certainly do a general response if that's what members wish.
Sorry, is that okay?
Yeah, I think even, we could actually arrive at Alison's position, we could arrive at that, but just for further consideration and decision on that day. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, well with that may help things move on slightly. If it's to be debated in committee, then there's no point in getting it any further here. Does anyone wish to object to that idea? If so, please say now. No? Okay, that's deferred.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the next item of correspondence is from the Minister for Infrastructure, and this follows on from the Council's previous letters regarding the potential for footpath widening or wider measures for social distancing in the towns, and this is the Minister's response.
Okay, there's 3 hands up and they're from previous items. Councillor McIlduff, Councillor McCloughlin, and Councillor Blake. Does anyone wish to speak on this item? Councillor Coffey.
Yeah, it's just I think it's very positive that we potentially could get some funding to extend the footpaths to enable disability and also access by people who have prams and so on in the current context. But a question is how much is forthcoming, because there's no commitment here in terms of a budget, and I'm just wondering if the Chief Executive might have any response to that. Thank you.
Yes, Chair, on I suppose 2 aspects. Firstly, my understanding is there's no funding available. What our discussions with DFI officials have been, certainly in relation to Enniskillen, is that if the council wished to undertake additional works as part of the public realm scheme, we could, but there would be no contribution forthcoming from the department. I suppose the other aspect to say in relation to Enniskillen specifically, Chair, is the only way in which footpath width can be increased is to encroach into the on-street parking provision, which has already been discounted by the traders as an option. So it would not be something that would meet the DFI consultation test.
Okay. Councillor Blake.
Sorry, my hand was up from before. I'll take it down.
Okay. Councillor McIlduff. Yeah. We'll swing back to them. Councillor Wilson, were you looking in there?
Sorry, Chair.
Oh, right, there we go.
Thank you, Chair, for your patience too, because I understand that is difficult, muting and unmuting for me at times. But can I just say that disability access campaigners, certainly in Oma, and a local family, be known to yourself as well, Chair, recently highlighted very problematic experience of shopping in the town centre with regard in the town centre of Oma. So, as an individual councillor, I have set about organising a site meeting. It's a socially distanced site meeting at the insistence of DFI Roads, so that I'm hoping that Mr McBride, Mr Devlin, myself and DFI Roads will be present. But I wonder, I propose that we write to DFI Roads asking for their assessment of the height of footpaths in Oma Town Centre in relation to convenience and safety for disabled users.
Yeah, I suppose I've written that. I've written a personal capacity as well. I'm still awaiting a response. But would be appreciative if I could attend that site meeting as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. That should be fine. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chairman. As you know, we've had many a discussion regarding this in the Omagh Town Centre Forum and in subsequent meetings from that. I've no issue. I welcome the Minister's letter, her reply. I've no issue with the site meeting, and if I get the date and time, I'll endeavour to be there as well. I suppose the one that has been highlighted to us specifically is one in the area, but there are probably numerous issues the same across the Omagh district, so need to be taken on all of those on board. So I'm happy enough with that as well. If I get the date and the time and location of the site meeting, I'm happy to attend. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, Chair. I would like to request, if there is a site meeting arranged for that the parish church in Fintna be included. There are 36 children there at a youth club that have to cross a very speedy part of the road, and they have to stand in the middle of the road until such times as the vehicles pass. I would really be asking for a pedestrian crossing at that position, and I've been lobbied on this on different times, and I would like that to be included in any
Just Councillor Wilson, it's my understanding that the site meeting is in the town of Omagh.
Yeah, Fintna's not that far away.
Well, we could do two maybe.
Chair, if I could, I think the issue here is that Councillor McElduff has made the necessary arrangements with the officials, so maybe Councillor Wilson may wish to do similar in the Fintna capacity.
I can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Chair, and likewise, if this is an open meeting, I'll be more than happy to make myself available. I suppose just to seek a little bit of clarity, because obviously there'll be future site meetings with DFI. At the present moment, is it the policy of DFI that whenever site meetings are held, that only a restricted number of people can actually attend them because of social distancing pressures?
Chair, I can help with that.
There you go.
Yeah, that's why I organised the site meeting for 4 people. 2 disability campaigners, you could say, and DFI Roads and myself as the initiator of the request. And the reason being that at our recent DEA meeting for Omagh Town, Sean Hackett emphasised that DFI Roads would accommodate site meetings socially distanced with a maximum of 4 persons present. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Chair.
There's your answer. Yeah.
Sorry, Chairman. I just want to confirm, actually, and agree with Councillor McAduff on what he has said there. Mr. Hackett made it quite clear at the DEA meetings with regard to how many people we could have at our site meetings with regard to roads. And Councillor McAduff's right now, it's 4 people maximum socially distanced. Thank you.
That's okay.
Councillor Thompson for that. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Garrity.
Sorry, Chairman. Not say what I was doing. Just to say, Chair, I'm happy to propose to note that letter from the Minister if need be, and just on a point of information for Councillor Wilson, that item that he's talking about in Fintna is with the department, and like the hole in the road, they're currently looking into it. But again, it'll do no harm. I'd appreciate any extra leverage from his part to get that addressed for the Fintna folk. So thanks for that, Chair.
Chairman, I'm happy to second Councillor Garrity's proposal. Thank you.
Just if we note it, then there's no action at the back of it, and Councillor McElduff does have a suggestion to write. That wasn't seconded as far as I'm aware.
No. Apologies, Chair. I can second if that's need be. Just to move the meeting on. My apologies.
Yep. Okay, seconded. Councillor Rainey.
Great.
I just want to
clarify. Councillor Thompson Councillor Thompson seconded Councillor McElduff's proposal to write to DFI Roads on the issue of the height of footpaths within Omagh Town, and then Councillor Thompson has seconded Councillor Garrity's proposal around noting the correspondence.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Alison, for the clarification. I think they both can go together there, really. It's noting what the Minister has said, but also we're happy enough to write that to the Minister and obviously have our meeting as well. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Rennie.
Councillor, Chairman, I wish to support Councillor Wilson's proposal. If it's not already seconded, Councillor Mary Garrity has told us how far advanced it is, but I really want to be one of those 4 that has been talked about at that site meeting.
Well, as I understand it, the Councillor Wilson was to organise that in a personal capacity, and then feedback and invite whoever he desired. Okay.
Okay.
So we have a proposal here by Councillor Michael Doffsey and Councillor Thompson to write to the department on this issue. Anyone wish to dissent, please indicate now. Okay, we'll take that as passed, and then I don't really see any need to note it if there's action out the back of it. So that's 10:04. There's 2 other items of.
Yes, Chair. 2 items of correspondence in your other folder. The first is from the Education Authority in relation to underfunded schools. The members will recall the council had previously made representations generally around underfunding, and then specific requests on the Bunskull and also Lisnaskea High School, and clarification regarding the weight of input provided by the Education Authority and CCMS. And really neither matters are dealt with in any substantive way in the response, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Feely.
Thank you, Gailey. I didn't think I'd be in this quick. So, well, Alison has just said exactly what I was going to say. I'm coming in about the bit that I have a good interest in is the bit from the CCMS, and there's absolutely no answer there at all, you know. So I'm not happy with the letter at all and the answer we got. Because I kind of personally think since the COVID pandemic, the outlook of schooling has completely changed. And I know myself that the CCMS and the EA in here and from Anna, they want 2 big super schools in Enniskillen. And we're going to bus all the kids up to the schools from the whole rural areas, 1,000 plus in each school. And I don't think that's it never was going to work, but since this pandemic came in, it's definitely not going to work. So I would be thinking of keeping all the rural schools open, as many as possible, with lesser numbers, where they would be fit to social distance and have absolutely no problem. Kids go to school 5 days a week, because I think when September arrives back, we'll not be going back to normal schooling. But if you had schools, and I'm just going to use Brad as an example, the school beside me where my kids go to, which is very low numbers, because a lot of kids have been brought up the road. But the reason they have low numbers is due to no investment for years from CCMS or the Education Authority. So that is a major problem. So I was going to make a proposal that we write back to the EA and the CCMS to look into their policy of centralisation of all these schools and to keep the schools in the rural areas. Since the pandemic has come in, they want to look into this big time, where I think the future is not going to have super schools in the school with 1,000 plus kids in each one, but the rural schools, to look back into the centralisation and look for virtual learning or satellite learning or anything like that there, you know. So I'm just not happy with the letter, and I'm making that proposal, and I just totally unacceptable with that letter, so I just wanted to bring that in, and thanks for that, Chris.
Okay. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chairman. I suppose I too have a very disappointed outlook on the response that we got back through Sinead from the Minister. In fact, the number of questions that we asked were not addressed at all, and you would have to question a minister who is over education that can't address straightforward questions. And certainly we have been waiting for the Irish school, the Bond School in Lisnaskea, to be in a position to be moved, and we're still waiting. And I'd be proposing, Chair, that we write back looking for clarification, as we have asked, on the future plans for this. Also, Chair, we are on the cusp of August, some 3 weeks from schools are reopening, and as yet schools have not been given any instruction as to what is going to happen with school transport and many other aspects to be able to cater for students coming back. So I would be proposing, Chair, as well as writing on the bond school idea, that we would seek urgent correspondence with the Minister that schools would be informed of what exactly the plan is for being able to transport kids into our schools. Also, the Minister had promised that schools that had provided PPE and sanitizing equipment and so forth, those extra costs related to the coronavirus, that they would be reimbursed for those. There has been no indication of that of late at all. We also have, due to the coronavirus, the idea that kids would have to change their uniforms more often, and certainly I would be proposing in that letter, Chair, that the school uniform grant would be increased to be able to allow families that struggle even with the grant to buy uniforms, to be able to afford more than one set of uniform in the current circumstances. And also, Chair, we have canteens that are only going to be able to do takeaway service for the pupils that return to school in September, and certainly the allowance for free school meals needs to be increased, because not alone the families that are on benefit will struggle there, because without hot meals and without the normal provision of meals or reduced variety, kids will have to have more of one thing or another to be able to sustain them, and that total for the provision over the week will increase, no doubt, and there needs to be some recognition that both the families on benefits and the working class families who are struggling on the breadline and maybe have been on furlong or have lost their job will be in that boat as well and be struggling. So that needs to be increased as well, the grant for the free school meals. And to finish, Chair, I note that in England, the broadband provision for some of these families that are struggling to be able to afford the broadband services, if they had broadband services, to allow children in the poorer families to be able to have equal treatment with all other students, they are getting payment for that broadband. And I would be proposing, Chair, that we also ask the Minister to look at that as a way of being able to treat all our kids equally in the schools. And while saying all of this, I hope that this can be actioned really quickly, because as I said at the start, we have only 3 weeks in which to find answers to some of these gaping questions that are staring schools in the face. Thank you,
Just
Chair.
before you go, are you happy enough for that to be sort of rolled in with Councillor Feely's, or do you want that to be separate? In which case, would you be happy to second Councillor Feely's?
I'd be happy to second Councillor Feely's, but I think, Chair, that they are very much. Councillor Feely's is a longer term issue there, and this is of an immediate crisis intervention thing. So I would look to keep them separate, Chair.
Well, it's just for my sort of, I'm going to take a vote on Councillor Feely's now, so that we don't sort of gather too many up, because it can get confusing. So if anyone wants to speak before we take a vote on Councillor Feely's,
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, please speak now.
Hello, Chairman.
Yep, that'll do.
Yeah, I'd like to speak on Councillor Feely's. I'd like to say I'd fully support it, and I'd like to add to it if he'd be happy enough for that, if that was allowed.
It's up to him, yeah.
Especially with the problem with social distancing and then the rural schools. I'd like to add our local school in Roslay could facilitate possibly pupils from the local area who would have to go to overcrowded schools in Lisnaskea, and also write to the CCMS and the Department of Education to look into the possibility of using St Eugene Slay to facilitate pupils who would otherwise have to go to an overcrowded school where it may not be possible to social distance.
Councillor Feely, you happy enough?
Thanks, Chair Haley, for letting me back in. Oh, no problem at all, because my colleague, Councillor Seamus Green, had already brought that up a couple of months ago with the school nursery. No problem at all to let that into. But just make sure that it's that CCMSA look into the proposals of the centralisation of these schools. I think it's very important. I know it's a long bit up, but still we want to be thinking about this now, because I think people's mindset will change. They will want to keep their kids local instead of send them up on packed buses up the road. But there'd only be smaller groups in buses going to the local schools. It's a very important issue. And any local school will be going to be all right. Absolutely no problem with that. In fact, my colleague, Councillor Seamus Green, was on about that a long time ago. I just thank you.
Thanks a million. Thanks a million. I have a lot of hands up here, some of them from previous issues.
On a point of order, Chairman, I would ask that Councillor Keenan withdraw that remark about the Lisnaskey School, that the Lisnaskey School is very well able to provide the service to the pupils with social distancing, and that is scandalous to be coming out with a comment like that to create misrepresentation in the community that he's from.
Sorry.
So I'd ask him to withdraw that.
Sorry, Thomas, maybe you picked me up wrong, but I said that that possibly would have to travel to schools that may be overcrowded, may not be possible to social distance. I didn't suggest. I just said may not be in the current circumstances.
Thomas, it's up to you whether this goes in or not. Are you happy with that clarification, or do you want to stick to your?
I think it's still creating that that sort of ambiguity there, Chair, and it's absolutely disgraceful.
No,
it's disgraceful. Hold on. So, Alison, so if the seconder doesn't allow it, it doesn't go in then. Is that right?
Well, Chair, yes, it would be the proposer would have to. So Councillor Feely would have to confirm. But Councillor O'Reilly's already indicated he wouldn't be able to second that. So you'd either be looking for a different seconder, or Councillor Keenan would make that as a separate proposal.
Councillor Keenan, do you want to make it as a separate proposal to keep everything on the?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to not gather up too many here. So look, is anyone else wishing to speak on Councillor Feely's proposal?
Chair, can I speak?
Yeah. On the proposal only now?
Yes, I want to add to the proposal because it is a good proposal, but I think these are questions for the executive. It's not just for a minister, because they have still got collective responsibility despite the moves, I think, to sever that so that there's a degree of leeway there. But the reality is that the executive as a whole is responsible for what is called the Transformation and Financial Recovery Programme. And I do note in the correspondence that it says that the aim is to bring schools into a stable and sustainable financial footing. Now, of course, stable and sustainable are great words, but when you haven't got enough money to keep a school going, it's not that easy. So it's really a programme for mass cuts and closures of schools. And my understanding from speaking to trade unionists involved in this is that there is a genuine and growing fear that there's going to be large-scale school closures right across the board, but in particular in the Catholic maintained side of things, and that this is now policy of the executive. So what I would like to see is an additional for if possible, that we could see additional clear money given for the cost of PPE, which I think Councillor O'Reilly did reference, vehicle modifications for transport, because obviously with COVID, we're going to have modifications of vehicles, and that's not cheap. There need to be additional fuel costs, because if people are going to have to be picked up all different places to go to schools that they're not used to going to, or if there are more transport providers required to keep social distancing on public transport and on school transport, that also would need additional funding. So I'm looking for that, if that can be put into the thing. And finally, I just would like to have a question really about whether Transformation and Financial Recovery Programme means the closure of schools, and to request the Minister confirm whether that's really the intent of this proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Feely, this is your proposal.
Yeah, that's okay. That's no problem at all. Don is absolutely right. But It's gonna. He's right there. It's gonna cost more money to bring the kids up the road. Anyway, it'd be far better being staying local anyway. So that's.
So look, I'm gonna take this unless anyone else wishes to speak on this specific part of it.
Chairman, just to say that this is getting very confusing because in my proposal, I did particularly at some length reference the school buses and the school transport there. So now if you're taking that into this proposal, then you have it in two proposals. So I'm not quite sure. I clearly had it in my proposal.
I know you did, but Councillor Feely has accepted it into his, but yours is a wee bit wider. So if anyone else wishes to speak on this item?
Chair, would you would you clarify what Councillor Feely is actually proposing? Because the way it sound is the Garrison accent, and it sounds as if he's talking into a bucket. I can't work out what he's saying. Thank you. And I don't mean to take credit for saying that. Just I'd like to know what the proposal is.
Okay, Chair. So Councillor Feely has proposed, and this was seconded by Councillor O'Reilly, that we write back to the Education Authority and CCMS to seek specific clarification on the matters raised in the Council's previous correspondence, to seek clarification on the expressed concern regarding the centralisation of procedures, which has resulted in this, may result in the closure of rural schools, and to emphasise the need for all rural schools to be maintained.
Okay, so that's that proposal. I'm going to put that to a vote now to get it out of the way.
Chair, if I may just, so then Councillor O'Coffey and Councillor Feely has indicated that he will accept this within his proposal, has asked that as a cross-cutting issue, it actually goes back to the executive as well, that they're copied into this, and references the need for additional clear money for PPE for schools, the modification of vehicles and additional fuel costs, and to ask a specific question: if does the transformation and recovery programme, or will the transformation and recovery programme result in school closures?
Okay. So we're going to take a vote on that now. Anyone who is not content with that proposal, please indicate now.
Alec Baird, not content.
Okay.
Robert Irvine, not content.
Okay, we're going to put to a vote.
Okay, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Councillor Armstrong?
Against.
Councillor Baird?
Against.
Councillor Blake?
For.
Councillor Buchanan?
Against.
Councillor Campbell?
For.
Councillor Clark?
For.
Councillor Coyle?
For.
Councillor Curry?
Evaver, for.
Councillor Deehan? Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly? Councillor Sean Donnelly?
For.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly?
For.
Councillor Elliott?
Against.
Councillor Erskine?
Against.
Councillor Feely?
For.
Councillor Fitzgerald?
Evaver, for.
Councillor Gannon?
For.
Councillor Garrity?
For.
Councillor Green? Councillor Irvine?
Against.
Councillor Keenan?
For.
Councillor Catherine Kelly?
For.
Councillor Podrigan Kelly?
For.
Councillor Maguire? Apology from Councillor McAleer. Councillor McCaffrey?
Lahaye and Malta, for.
Councillor McCann?
For.
Councillor McCloughery?
Against.
Councillor McElduff?
Evaver.
Councillor McPhillips?
For.
Councillor O'Coffey?
For.
Councillor O'Reilly?
For.
Councillor Rainey?
Against.
Councillor Robinson?
Against.
Councillor Smith?
Against.
Councillor Swift?
For.
Councillor Thompson?
Against.
Councillor Thornton?
Against.
Councillor Warrington?
Against.
And Councillor Wilson.
Against.
Okay, Chair, that is 21 for and 14 against.
Ah.
So that's carried.
Okay, just ask that everyone turns their microphones off again. Thank you. Second proposal, Alison, if you'd like to just.
Yes, Chair, so this was Councillor O'Reilly's proposal, and this is that we write back to get the specific update on the schools referenced and to seek urgent clarification from the Minister as to what the plans are for school transportation, how the extra costs associated, all extra costs associated with COVID-19 schools will be supported with these, to make representations that the uniform grant be increased to allow those families currently in receipt of the uniform grant and who are on the breadline to be able to purchase more than one uniform, which is a likely outworking of COVID-19. The implication on canteens to ensure that the allowance for free school meals will be increased to accommodate additional expenditure, and that appropriate support is put in for broadband for children and young people to ensure that all students are working from a level playing field.
Okay, that's without a seconder at the minute.
Yeah. I'll second that, Councillor McCaffrey here.
Okay.
And just sorry, Chair. At this point, is it proper for me to? I have a proposal I'd like to make, or shall I wait until after this vote?
Please, just hold it for the time being, would you please?
Back in.
Anyone who wishes to speak on this specific item, it's been seconded. Please indicate now. There's a lot of hands still up here. So it's very difficult for me to know if you want to speak on this or not. But shout out if you want to speak on this item. Nope. Okay, well, we'll put that one to a vote.
I'd like to speak on this item, Chris, please.
No, go on ahead.
The matter with the buses is a matter of much urgency. It directly affects all children within the controlled education sector. The controlled schools have been centralised. The choice children in the controlled sector have is go to Enniskillen, 5 Mile Town, Omar, Castlederg. And that's within these areas. So they're always buses and long since demolished. So the buses will directly affect them. There's been no direction, and I'll declare a little bit of an interest. My wife is a classroom assistant, and her school simply have been given no direction. They're all to go back to work on a certain date, and they're going to work out what they're going to do there. It is totally unsatisfactory. So if Councillor O'Reilly would be willing to make sure that that's put into his motion, that the controlled sector is particularly affected. They have to travel the furthest and use more buses as well, and then that there's no clear direction for schools.
Councillor O'Reilly, are you happy enough with that?
I'm happy that the controlled school sector is mentioned alongside other sectors that have to use the buses as well. I think it affects everybody.
Yeah, I think that could be a form of words could be created to allow that.
Yeah, I'll be happy with that. Thank you.
I have hands up here from Councillor McCaffrey and Councillor Irvine. If you're looking in, keep your hands up. If not, take them down. Councillor McCaffrey.
Yeah, Gurmugget, McCaffrey, Trucking me a stock and Shaw, I must say, Gerald, come in now. Just
is this a new proposal?
No, but just speaking on the Bunskull and Trainee situation. I mean, this has been going on for over 6 years, and it had been greenlit by a previous education minister, John O'Dowd. And unfortunately, Peter Weir is guilty of dragging his feet on this issue, and for it to be extended for so long now, and that school, which does fabulous work promoting Irish in our district here in County Fermanagh, under difficult circumstances, and I've seen them myself. The share one stage P7s were sharing a mobile with the canteen, and it was impossible for anyone to teach in such a noisy environment, or for children to learn in such an environment. So it's been difficult on both staff and pupils, and I think it's absolutely disgraceful that it's taken this long, and worse again, that the minister has totally failed to answer a simple question. So I would I know it's going to be a new proposal, but I would just ask.
No. I'll bring you in again. I'm trying to keep this all nice and clean. Okay, so I will bring you in again to bring in a new proposal, but we'll just sort this one out now. Councillor McClory, you've already been in, so I think we'll just put this one straight to vote. If anyone wishes to dissent from this, please indicate now. Okay, I'll take that as passed. I have an unseconded proposal by Councillor Keenan on the table, which if Alison would like to just reiterate.
Chair, that was that the St Eugene site, or sorry, school in Rosslea is used to accommodate those children attending schools where social distancing can be difficult or will be difficult.
Okay. Well, Councillor Swift, I see it in the chat, but just for the purposes of the record,
Yes.
can you?
Yeah, Gormaga Carrick, yes, I thought that was a practical and sensible idea, so I'd be happy to support that and second that.
Okay. It's proposed and second. Does anyone wish to vote against, or to, yeah, does anyone wish to vote against that? Please indicate now. No. Okay, we'll take that one as passed as well. Now, Councillor McCaffrey, you want to make a further proposal?
Margaret Carley, as me against Stockton Donner. Thanks for letting me in there again, Chair. Well, obviously I voiced my displeasure already at the situation with the Bunskull, so I would just there's two small proposals. I would just specifically request that there is a timescale given for that move to the new site for Bunskull and Trinity, because it has taken so long. I mean, it is disgraceful and embarrassing for a minister to be standing over a decision like this for so long. My other issue with the Education Minister is that there has been a sector which has been totally left out, and it's under his remit, and it's also under the Department of Health's remit, but it is, I believe it's more apparent that it's under his control, that the voluntary sector in the preschool and play schools have been completely left out. Guidance that has been issued from the 19th of June was non-applicable to their situation, and there's an array of problems. I did hold a consortium meeting with local play schools from all across Fermanagh district within our council area. There was up to 7 different play school groups that were there in attendance. We had an online meeting with members of the Education Committee, and I know that these proposals have been brought to the Minister, but as of yet there's been no response at all. And I mean, we're only just over a month away from the schools meant to be reopening and such. And there is no guidance, there's no plan, and the Minister cannot expect teachers, cannot expect the play school staff to assume all of the responsibility. There has to be some sort of plan put in place. One of the biggest issues is, for example, the EA provide a cleaning service in primary schools, and that service is not reciprocated for the voluntary sector in the play schools, and these play schools already only receive half funding from the department, and then the rest of their funding would be from fundraising locally. So the extra costs associated with cleaning and preparation for opening up with the COVID-19 virus, where is that money going to come from? Is the department going to cover that, or are they going to have to go out and fundraise? And how can they fundraise in the current circumstances? And in addition to that, a grant that usually comes out in middle of September for the play schools, can that grant not be moved up? These were simple questions that were put to the Minister before through the Education Committee, and still have not been answered. So it's not just 1 or 2 questions, not just relation to Irish medium education. He has failed to answer a series of questions all across his remit as Education Minister, and it is very, very worrying, and it must be very, very worrying for the people that work in the education sector. So I would just like to make a proposal that the Minister answers some of the worries in relation to the preschool, the voluntary sector, play schools, and that he can provide some sort of detail as to what his plan is, because I mean they have nothing at the moment, and you can't just go off good intentions and goodwill. They have to have something in place. So I would just be very, very annoyed that this Minister seems to be, I don't want to be too harsh, but failing at his job as Minister. So just he has questions to answer, and he must answer them ASAP for these schools. Gormagat.
Okay, Councillor Keenan.
Hello, Chairman. Yeah, I'll be happy to second Chris's motion or proposal. Sorry, I know a lot of parents and the kids that attend the Bun School, and there's a lot of uncertainty around that, and fully support that. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Swift.
Well, I hand up to second it, but I fully agree and support that this really is a disgraceful, and I suppose really the questions of the Minister's remit have been left unanswered. So there's a lot of anxiety out there in the community and voluntary sector, and the play schools play such a vital and important role. So we need those answers, as Chris said, ASAP. So I fully support that.
Fantastic. Okay, well, that's proposed and seconded. Does anyone wish to send for that? Please indicate now. No? Okay, I take that as passed as well. And that's the issue dealt with.
And our final piece of correspondence, Chair, is from the Minister for Infrastructure, and this is about traffic calming measures in the vicinity of primary schools. Members will recall there were a few items that we had raised. Firstly, specific traffic calming measures at St Mary's Primary School, Newton Butler and Cooley Primary School. The issue around mandatory 20 mile-an-hour speed limits, and the Minister's confirmed funding about that in the letter. And the update in Greencastle is as per the previous letter, namely the consultation period is required before the works can actually be commenced.
Okay, Councillor Coyle.
Thank you, Chair. No, I'd like to welcome this announcement from the Minister. Safety at schools is paramount, and that I am hopeful that a number of schools within our Fermanagh and Omagh district will benefit from the funding, and hopefully that it will be rolled out to all schools in the future. But this is a pilot scheme, and I will propose to note the correspondence.
Okay. Councillor Keenan.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'd also welcome the response from the DFA about the primary school in Butler. But the only thing I would say, it's not just all about speed. Is not the only issue. There's actually no crossing there for the school children. There's a footpath on one side. There's a lollipop lady. She helps them cross, but she's found that the traffic only stops in one direction, and she's actually calling for a zebra crossing close to the existing roundabout on the way towards the school. And that's the issue. It's not just speed. And although I welcome they want to do a speed survey, the issue was that the crossing of the road for the children. So I'd propose we write back and maybe suggest that it's not only speed. That the call was for a zebra crossing to facilitate the crossing of the kids.
Okay, Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. It's just first of all, it's obviously positive that we are seeing the introduction of 20 mile per hour speed limits outside schools. This is of vital importance to the safety of children. I myself was actually clipped one time dropping my kids to school. And I think the one problem is that there's only 100 schools. That's 10% approximately of the schools in Northern Ireland, which is not enough. I think that unless you bring it in universally, that this will not be respected. I also think that unless ancillary works are brought in, that this is likely to be disrespected even where it is enforced or it is put into place. For example, there needs to be traffic calming to bring down speeds to 20 miles per hour. Otherwise, people will simply not continue. So I would like to see further correspondence back to the Minister, identifying these caveats and concerns that we would like to see a wider program of lowering speed limits outside schools. Also, I would like to highlight the fact that there are still a number of schools in our council area, and just thinking of Belcoo, where it's still a 40 mile per hour speed limit outside the school, and that is quite concerning. So alongside bringing in 20 miles an hour, they need to bring it in right across the board, and then need to have funding there for the traffic calming works to make sure that cars do not exceed the speed. And finally, I'd just like to say, if anyone's driven anywhere near central London outside the period when you can get charged for doing so, large swathes of London are now 20 mile per hour, and that's quite common in Britain and I believe also in the south. So we need to see how we can do that here in the north. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Next up is Councillor McPhillips.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I'll keep it very short. I just say welcome this again, and it's great to see the new home bowlers getting that. I'd also like to second Councillor Coyle's proposal to note the correspondence. I'll second that.
Okay.
Chair.
Yes, you're up next, Bart.
Right.
Okay, just I was writing down here with the proposal. I'm sort of tempted to take that proposal now because I fear you may bring up your own. So
no.
Maybe no.
Just to be welcomed, and hope that traffic calming is necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Rainey.
Yeah, I support it as well, the chair. Is it just 9 places that we are allocated here in Fermanagh? I thought it was that was the number, and if we take all of the A-class roads out of it, it is not going to go too far, I think, and for our needs here and for Fermanagh.
No, Chair, I think the references to the surveys are based on the previous letters that the council had submitted and identified particular locations. So that's where those details have come from.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, Chair, I want to. Oh, okay, can I be heard?
You can be heard, Shirley.
Okay, sorry, I'm not sure at times. I want to welcome the proposal for around Greencastle, and I want to be associated with them. I know I don't want to take up too much time, so they're to be welcomed, and hopefully they will be carried out. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thanks a million. Councillor Baird.
Thank you, Chair. I do really welcome this proposal for the 100 schools to have part-time speed limits. I've seen this working up on the Coleraine area in 2 schools, one out at Articlave and one out the Ballycastle Road. It's ideal. The traffic slows down at school opening and closing times. That being the case, to be honest, it's impractical to put traffic calming measures in for a system that only will be working part-time. But in Erne West, there are 2 schools specifically that require this. Florence Court, I've been working on that for a long time, and neighbouring Killesher. But as I say, I don't think the people would be too worried about traffic calming if they got the 20-mile-an-hour speed limits part-time. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. There's still quite a number of speakers, so I'm sort of tempted to take Councillor Keenan and Councillor McPhillips' proposal now, unless anyone wants to speak on it. If you want to speak on it on that specific part, please indicate now. Nope. Okay, we'll take a vote on it.
Sorry, Chair. Did Councillor McPhillips not second Councillor Coyle?
Yeah, that's correct, Chair. I second Councillor Coyle's proposal to note.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
we've got an Coyle. Okay. Well, we will then keep going. Councillor Sean Clark, your hand's still up. Are you? Leave it there. No. What about Councillor Gannon?
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, all this is very welcome in terms of the traffic calming and the pilot for the 20-mile-an-hour. I was just kind of coming in on what Councillor Keenan had mentioned there, writing to the Minister directly about the crossing. I don't know, his predecessor tended to bring stuff to the Council as well. I don't know if he's tried writing to DFI locally first, as they're very accommodating with this sort of request. I know myself, I've had work with them done on speed surveys and looking about getting crossings at schools in Erne West anyhow. So I appreciate that he's still new, and just maybe there's a more effective way for him to do it to get his action across, but the local DFI guys are very good. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Feely.
Thank you, Keely. I'll try and speak a wee bit plainer this time so everybody can understand me, my Garrison accent. Well, it's probably a mixture of Garrison and England, that's the problem, you see. But I'm kind of coming in here behind this council coffee there, and since I was elected in 2014, Belcoo has been a major issue for me, and I think that traffic calming would be appropriate outside Belcoo School to slow them down, as well as the 20-mile school as well. So I think if in that they should put on it. I know anytime I bring up the campus speed ramps on a class A road, but I think in exceptions of schools, there should be allowed to put speed ramps in them to slow people down outside schools. If I say that's a school at Dolan, where he got me a clip of when he was leaving the school, for to be flying on it. So I'd be just coming in support of having speed ramps and traffic calming outside all schools. And I think every school in the district should be 20-mile-an-hour going by them, for nobody wants to see any child getting hurt or injured or anything fatally happen. So hopefully people understood me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Swift.
Yeah, Gormagat Cahirlock, and I'm delighted to see all the proposals for the speed and traffic calming. And I want to make the point as well, because for years during our DEA meetings, we have asked for the same measures to be put in place. And I want to reiterate the point that I have already done at many of my DEA meetings, and it's the individual drivers that need to slow down and pay attention to the speed limits that are in front of them. It's not cars that go fast, it's behind the wheel.
I think we've.
I think I do. Hello.
No, I think we lost you there for a wee second.
Phone's on. Hello, Chris. Can you hear me?
Can hear you now.
All right. I don't know what happened because my microphone's on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'll put this video on. You can lip read me anyway. So I'm clearly stating that I have been contacted by some families over in the Newtown Butler area, and I would like to support that case and the cause for the zebra crossing as requested. And I know it has been raised in the local DEA in my area, believe it or not, and I be contacted right across the district, not just the Erin West area. So I would like to second what Councillor Keenan's saying there in support of the families that had contacted me. Gormagat.
Thank you. Councillor Clark and Councillor Feely both have their hands up still, but I'm assuming that's just in error. So I think we'll take the proposals in the order that I think they were seconded, which is Donald's proposal, seconded by Councillor Feely first, and then Councillor Keenan's, followed by Councillor Swift. So Councillor O'Coffey's, seconded by Councillor Feely. Austin, if you'd like to just.
Sorry, this was emphasising the need for a wider programme of 20-mile-per-hour installations at all schools and a specific programme of traffic calming measures outside the school in Belcoo, primary school in Belcoo.
Okay. Anyone who wishes to vote against that, please indicate now. No. Okay, we'll count that as passed. Second proposal by Councillor Keenan and seconded by Councillor Swift for zebra crossing. Anyone wish to vote against that, please indicate now. Okay, we'll take that one as passed too, and then obviously the proposal to note falls because there's action. That's everything under other, isn't it? Yeah. So now we move on to item 11. Notice of motion.
No, Chair. Sorry, yes, beg your pardon. Notice of motion, sorry.
Notice of motion. Okay, and I think I call the proposer first. Which is Councillor Warren.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'll start with giving the brief with the motion that we submitted was that this council wishes to express a solidarity with the victims of the Oma bombing, which took place on the 15th of August 1998, and their continuing efforts for justice. This council notes that Mr. Liam Campbell was found civilly liable of this atrocity and is subject to extradition proceedings in the Republic of Ireland on separate terrorism charges. The publicity surrounding this process has caused much pain and anguish among the victims and their relatives. In consequence of this, we propose that this council writes to the offices of the Taoiseach to speedily resolve this process owing to the effect that it is having on the people directly impacted. Do you want me to continue now with my 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you ask everybody to silence their mics, Chris, because I'm getting a bit of feedback there.
Yeah, that's true. I have Councillor Rainey with a mic still live, and and yourself. So, Councillor Rainey, can you just maybe mute your microphone beforehand?
Thank you.
Okay, right, on you go.
To move this motion as group leader of the Ulster Unionists on this council. It brings me no pleasure that over 20 years after that terrible day, this council is still embroiled in the rights and wrongs of such an event, and that such a motion is even necessary. I do so on the back of a proposal by Councillor Swift, which I am glad to say that this council has agreed not to ratify, and I hope that this motion, if passed, will supersede and consign this sorry episode in local government to the dustbin of history where it so rightfully belongs. Local councils should be bodies which defend the rights of their citizens, especially the vulnerable and disadvantaged of their district. I can think of no more deserving of this council's support than those affected by this horrible day. It is them this council should defend, the innocent men, women, children, and unborn that were cut down as they went about their daily lives. Not the rights of some individual whose only link to this district is that he was civilly liable for blowing significant parts of this district to hell and back, killing and maiming our citizens, and then fleeing, leaving devastation and broken families and broken hearts in his wake. Councillor Swift has circulated a copy of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a document that was passed by the United Nations in 1948. In this document, there are a list of human rights that all countries who signed up for it recognise, and the UK was one of them. The list is pretty long and includes things such as the human right to religious and freedom and expression, to have reasonable working conditions, to own property, and a whole raft of other rights. These are all laudable clauses, and I am sure that everyone here subscribes and believes passionately in these human rights. But Chair, do you know that what is the first right mentioned explicitly in this document? Right there in Article 3, the first word of the sentence, life. Anybody who believes in human rights or claims to do so cannot shy away from the fact that the most fundamental of all human rights is that of life. That most fundamental and precious of rights was removed from 31 people, including 2 unborn children, on the 15th of August 1998, indiscriminately, callously, evilly, to speak of the human rights on one hand and then completely disregard that the 15th of August deprived those people that the most human rights shows either a complete failure to comprehend how human rights work, or worst, a blatant disregard to them. Chair, I wish from the bottom of my heart to make this entire saga come to an end, to enable it to divinely draw a line under this so that the relatives of the bomb can know that not only does this council have their back, but that human rights are ours and society's primary focus. As per standing orders, we can only refer this item back to the committee, which meets in September. Intolerably long for those who issue the linger on our books, for if we pass this motion now, the council's stance is put clearly and unashamedly that we will be a stalwart defender of our citizens. And as a side chair, I do not see how the chair of the P&R committee could permit his committee to pass this decision, which is a direct contradiction to the stated council policy. That, of course, is a decision for him and his conscience. In conclusion, Chair, I ask that we write to the officers of Taoiseach so that this motion can be expeditiously brought before the correct judicial authority in the Republic of Ireland, so that the people of Omagh can have a small measure of closure, albeit one which is far short of what they deserve. Chair, I formally move this motion for the Council's consideration. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move now to the seconder, Councillor Rennie.
Chairman, fellow councillors, there has been occasion before when we have acted disgracefully, but those pale into comparison to the motion railroaded and passed in support against Liam Campbell's extradition to Lithuania in the guise of human rights violation. I struggle to find the words to express my revulsion and contempt at the actions of some councillors in this council as they thwarted common decency and council protocols. It is mystifying to think that some councillors would have conveniently forgottenly disregarded one of the worst human rights violations to take place in this county town upon the electorate, its visitors, the right to life, the murder of 29 innocent plus 2 unborn children, of which Liam Campbell was found liable for coordinating the same. Have they chosen to ignore the carnage of that fateful day? The loss of life, the grief, the maimed, and the traumatized. I'm sure I speak for others when I say shame on those who gloat off such terrorist atrocities. Shame on those who re-traumatize the grieving and the injured by such despicable actions. As the then vice chair and subsequently chair of Omagh District Council, when the eyes of the world were on us, and the great and good in our midst, as one who stood with the grieving, sat with the injured and their families, do I need to remind you of what that was like? What must the world be thinking now? I pray that they are not thinking that after almost 22 years, some members on this council have condoned, lent their support to the atrocity of 1998 in supporting the previous motion.
Councillor, only have 20 seconds.
What a travesty that would be to all we have achieved from that devastating day, not least to families bereaved, the injured, those mentally scarred. Actions have consequences. Sow seeds of destruction, support and assist murderous acts. Then you must accept. Just a minute, just a second. Unless you are ignorant or deluding and thinking such is justified, that on one day you will be held to account. There is a day of reckoning we do well to remember. I ask you to fully support the motion.
Okay. 10 seconds over there, but I'll give it to you. I have received a number of amendments, and I am going to take them in the order that they were supplied to me in writing.
Chair, I have my hand raised to speak.
So have I, Chair.
Oh, sorry, I haven't got the hands up at the minute. Oh, yeah, right.
Oh,
the hands were removed there from me. Sorry for a second. I have a number of hands, actually. First one up is Councillor. That's interesting. Are they coming up in alphabetical order now or in time? Councillor Donnelly is the first I have up. No, actually, no. I think you're right. We must take these amendments in the order that they were sent to us, and therefore, first amendment was sent to me by Councillor Gannon. Everyone will get the right to speak. Don't worry.
Sorry, Chair, do we not get the right to speak before amendments are put forward? Have I not the right to speak in support of the motion?
You do, but I have to take the amendments first, as I'm being.
Same as myself, Chairman.
No, I understand that, but as far as I'm aware, that is being taken as an indication to speak early, and I have to take these in order. I don't know how I can do that without taking them first, and then you can speak in support of whatever. So I'm going to call Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify before I start, will this be my time to speak on the motion as a whole, or just to clarify the amendment motion as a whole?
The whole whack.
Okay, no problem, Chair. Thank you. So this motion, quite rightly points out.
Adam, can I just have further clarification? And Chris Keirlock, just to support what Councillor Baird and Thompson have said, we would have been used in the past to have discussion on the first motion before the amendments are heard, because it gives everybody the opportunity to speak on the first one. That would have been my understanding also, before I would hear other amendments, obviously to help make an informed decision. So
Chair, just to say, in the chamber, it's slightly different, obviously, because
Yes, it's
motion
hard to
amendments
translate
could have
these
come
things.
at any point, and we would have took the amendment then and there. But it's up to yourself, Chair, whatever order you want to do it in.
Sorry, Chair,
Just to clarify, Chair, you obviously have scope to do either. So the motion has been presented, and you can take speakers now if you wish. There are 4 separate amendments. So what would normally happen in those circumstances, depending on the number of amendments, is that members could also consider amendments so you realise what the substantive motion is. However, you can proceed to take the motion as presented, allow the various speakers, and then you proceed to the amendments in order. You have scope
Well, I
certainly
suppose
to do that.
do you know what that may be a better way to do it. Okay, we'll leave the amendments out until the end, and anyone who wishes to speak on the motion as presented. Now all my hands have gone. If that makes a difference. Okay. So I believe the first person.
I don't know whether my hand's up or down, but it should be up.
Your hand is up.
I've had it up for a long time.
Your hand
My
is up.
hand's still up, Chair.
I can see both hands are up. Councillor Donnelly, I cut you off there, and that was probably wrong of me. So please feel free to make your.
Well, that's no worries, Chair. I appreciate we're trying to just adjust to the procedure. I suppose, Chair, I mean, I come to this motion with no great pleasure, given that we are just a number of weeks out from the 22nd anniversary of what was the darkest day in Oma's history. I would just like to start by paying tribute to the survivors and those who lost loved ones in the Oma bomb for the dignified way in which they have handled the last number of weeks, which has been an enormously difficult time for them. It was these same people who, through their leadership and example after the bomb, really paved the way for preserving the peace that we as a society enjoy today. Oma is a transformed place as a result of that leadership, and I'm proud to call home and represent a place that is diverse, shared, generous, but nonetheless scarred by a very painful past. Chair, if I may, I would like to quote Claire Monteith, who lost her brother Alan in the bomb, and who spoke following the regrettable action taken by this council, when she said, "I have been left wounded yet again by the actions of those in leadership." Chair, that pain is real. It has been felt widely across our society in recent weeks, and we as local leaders must hear that pain and conduct ourselves in a way that respects those who have lost their lives as a result of violence, and which does not reopen the wounds of survivors and grieving family members. It is for that reason that I will be voting for tonight's motion, but rejecting the Sinn Féin amendment. I would urge Council to send a message tonight that we do stand with the victims of the Oma bomb and their families, and that we support them in their struggle to pursue truth and justice. Thank you very much.
Okay. Councillor Gann, you're next up, but if you want to wait till you actually put your proposal down, or you can speak on this this substantive motion.
So, Chair, you're suggesting later, when the time comes for amendments, to speak on both the motion and amendment at that point?
Yeah, that would be much cleaner.
That's okay,
Sorry?
Chair.
Sorry, wait. No, if he speaks at the end of these speakers, he'll be speaking on the motion, or sorry, on his amendment, not the motion. Is that right, Adam?
Chair, no, normally what happens in the chamber, and bear in mind, I do respect it, I have years of experience, is that at this point, if I had indicated I would put forward my amendment at this point as well.
You could indicate that you're going to put forward an amendment for your amendments. No.
So you put forward an amendment at this stage? From experience, I bear in mind, obviously, Chair, it's your call, but from my experience in the chamber, whenever you indicated to speak during a motion, if you're amending, you amended then.
That is also true. Firstly, it would require a seconder. If you choose to speak now, then others will not get the chance to speak on the motion as it stands, and therefore I would urge whoever is seconding this to bear that in mind. If you choose to second it now, then individuals will be deprived of the right to speak on the motion as it stands. Up to you.
Well, Chair, they can speak on it at that point whenever they get their chance, as would be normally done. But if you're happy enough for me to start, Chair, I'm happy enough to go.
Correct.
It's not correct, Chairman. He shouldn't be allowed to speak at this stage.
That's incorrect procedure, Chairman. You should be taking all those who want to speak on the motion first.
How am I supposed to know who
Here,
is
here.
speaking on the motion before they speak? Yeah. So look, Councillor Gannon, I'm going to take you at the end. I'm going to take you at the end because you intend to bring a motion forward. Anyone else who's intending to make an amendment, I'll take them at the end. But I don't know.
Chair, can I ask where in the standing orders that it refers that you must take the at the end? I believe it is moved whenever it is moved in debate, according to 17.2 of standing orders. I could be wrong, but
yes, but I can choose when to take you, and I am choosing to take you after individuals who wish to speak on this substantive motion do so, and as a result, I'm going to take you at the end.
Okay, Chair.
Okay. Right, Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak. Unfortunately, I was not given that basic democratic right previously on this issue. Unfortunately, this motion, the one the Council has considered previously, and the amendments, in my opinion, are inherently divisive. And it is vital that the voice of someone representing my tradition, cross-community Labour, is heard on this issue. I abstained last time, but I want to assure everyone it is not because I am abstaining from the politics of this issue. How we handle this, however, is of great and vital importance. Liam Campbell's name will be forever associated with the 1998 Omagh bomb, for which he was found liable in the civil court in 2009. Although he was never convicted of any offence connected to the Omagh bomb in a criminal court. The Omagh bomb was a crime against ordinary people. I am totally opposed to the activities of all dissident paramilitary groupings. Their attacks do nothing to forward the interests of anyone, least of all working class people. They seek to take us back to the past. I call all the armed Republican groupings and the loyalist paramilitaries to call off their campaigns and disband immediately. With regards to the issue of the proposed extradition of Liam Campbell, I have little doubt that prison conditions in Lithuania are inhuman and breach the human rights of all prisoner inmates. I would also contend that the Omagh bomb breached the human rights of the victims and survivors. I will not vote for any proposal which is one-sided and unbalanced. Genuine cross-community socialist and labour activists have a long history of taking up issues of human rights in a way that unites working class people rather than divides them. If we allow any state to use repressive methods against small and isolated groups without protest, it opens the door to the more widespread use of such methods in the future. It is in the interest of socialists and trade union activists to oppose such measures, both on humanitarian grounds and in the interest of the working class people who will enter into struggle in the future. For these reasons, I wish to be put on record my opposition to the extradition of Liam Campbell, whilst at the same time condemning absolutely the activities of all armed paramilitary groups. With regards to the call for a public inquiry, it is my opinion that if one is established, it will most likely end just like this debate.
I'm just going to say that's not the motion that's on the table.
It will be divisive, and it will do nothing to shed light on what happened.
That's not the table. There's nothing.
It will never deliver justice to the victims.
Councillor Coffey, please don't push this.
I'm not going to be voting for that either. I'm going to abstain from all motions, and I'm calling for an inquiry that will be carried out by genuine cross-community anti-sectarian activists and international organisations and figures with a reputation for scrupulous fairness. Only then will it be truly independent of both governments and contending sectarian forces. Such an inquiry stands a chance of revealing the truth. Anything less will only cause more pain to the families and the entire community. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor
Point of order, Chair. Sorry, point of order.
I know what you're going to say. Go on.
Well, I'm saying people are speaking to the amendments as it is. Everyone's seen the amendments, and I feel that we should make the amendments as we normally would in the chamber. And if that's not the case, I would ask to speak to the substantive motion and then speak on the amendment after. If you're not taking the amendment now, I'd like to speak on the motion as stands and then speak on the amendment also. Because You're saying that I can't speak on. You're basically saying
No,
I
no,
can't speak on the motion. Can only speak on the amendment.
I will bring you in at the end, and you can use your time to speak on the motion, and then you can propose your amendment, which will then give you. I think you have no only once, right? Well, then if you speak now, you won't get the chance to propose your amendment, or you'll be depriving others of the right to speak on the substantive motion. So I'm going to take Councillor Baird next.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I take it you can hear me?
I can.
Thank you. This motion follows on from the passing of a proposal at PNR, thankfully now referred back, raised under the guise of protecting fundamental human and civil rights, which ended up causing hurt and distress to the innocent Oma bomb victims, wide public outcry, and indeed embarrassment and discomfort to some of those who voted for it. Responsibility for the distress and hurt, I believe, lies in the proposal by Councillor Swift. The matter was, I believe, compounded in the seconding of the proposal by Councillor Green. The matter was exacerbated, I believe, by the manner in which the committee chairman, Councillor McCann, conducted the business. While you yourself, Councillor Smith, was allowed to ask a question before the vote on the proposal was taken, asking for clarification if Liam Campbell referred to in the proposal was the person civilly convicted of the Oma bomb, as you were led to believe that he is. Councillor McCann refused to allow debate or discussion on the proposal, or indeed after it was approved. I believe that he denied councillors their human and civil rights as elected councillors. On the previous night, during the full council meeting, Councillor O'Reilly accused you, the council chairman, of bad chairmanship. He didn't have to wait too long to see an example of what I believe is the worst example of bad chairing of a meeting I've ever seen, i.e. that by Councillor McCann at PNR. Finally, culpability and the hurt and distress, I believe, lies at the feet of those councillors who voted for the proposal or abstained. Now, for some reason, it seems to me that provisional Sinn Féin seem to look over their shoulders to see how some of the independents are voting, perhaps worrying that they could be outmanoeuvred. This, of course, leads to the tail wagging the dog in some instances. Now, how the SDLP came to vote for the proposal, presumably on guidance from their group leader, Councillor McGarity, defies logic and understanding. Councillor Smith's question clarified who Liam Campbell is. But they ended up with egg in their face, in actual fact nearly a whole omelette, when the next day their party leader had to overrule and in effect apologise for their actions. I cannot recall an incident when a party leader had to reverse the actions of one of his councillor groupings. Now, it's interesting to note that all who voted for the proposal are keen anti-Brexiteers, as opposed maybe I am, and ironically the proposed extradition is on the foot of a European arrest warrant between two EU nations, Republic of Ireland and Lithuania, perhaps as an a la carte attitude to EU law among some. Chairman, I support the motion. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm muted. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Well, first of all, can I just make I want to say that on behalf of the Democratic Unionist Party, as group leader, on behalf of our party grouping, and as an Oma Town councillor, I want to support the UUP motion. But I want to make a few comments, Chairman. Over the last number of weeks, our council has been brought into the gutter, and that is the view of many of our constituents, especially in the Oma area. It is very telling that when this proposal was put to committee, there was an attempt to gloss over any focus on who the individual in question actually is. Liam Campbell is wanted for extradition to an EU member state under a European arrest warrant. He also happens, of course, to be one of those involved in ripping the heart out of my hometown of Oma on Saturday, the 15th of August, 1998. That was a day I will never forget because of all the trauma that was involved, as I was a serving soldier in Lisnelly Barracks in the town, which incidentally was also used over that period as a temporary morgue for the victims. Their families had to come in and identify them in that barracks along with many politicians and right across the board. Whilst Liam Campbell has never been properly brought to justice for that crime, he has at least been found liable in a civil trial. That trial, of course, only took place because of the courage and determination of the Omagh families, many of the same people who feel most hurt by the actions of some councillors in our chamber. Any councillor considering voting for this proposal this evening should stand before those families and tell them why. Tell them why they are happy for a man involved in the Omagh bombing should not be extradited under a European arrest warrant. Sinn Féin representatives condemned the Omagh bombing at the time and on subsequent occasions. On a different occasion, the late Martin McGuinness once described dissident Republicans as traitors to the island of Ireland. This evening, though, some councillors, including those who would call themselves Republicans, want to assist one of those traitors evade justice within the European Union. For those councillors, it's a familiar message. The laws and rules which apply to the rest of us should not apply when it comes to Republicans. For those who preach equality the loudest, all are equal, but some are more equal than others. The people of Omagh were all equal when a car bomb exploded in Omagh on Saturday, 15th of August, 1998. Their human rights were not given a second thought by Liam Campbell and the others who planned, prepared, and planted that bomb. Anyone who would suggest supporting this proposal should hang their head in shame. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. We now have Councillor Thompson and Councillor Baird still have their hands up. Councillor Clark has their hands up. Councillor Clark, is this to raise an amendment or is this to speak on the motion as it stands?
Chair,
He's muted again.
hello?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware I had my hand up at this stage, but I will take it down now because
Okay.
okay.
Okay, right. We will move now to the amendments. And before we do, I think it's only fair to say to individuals that I have received 4 amendments. I have viewed 3 of them as non-permissible. And if you wish, I can go through the reasons for that for each motion. The first one, I believe, was received by Councillor Swift, and I have ruled it inadmissible under Standing Order 712. The second part of that standing order. I received a amendment from Councillor Barry McElduff, and I have viewed that as inadmissible under Section 1918. I received a amendment at a very, I think it's about 2 minutes before the meeting, from Councillor Keenan, which wasn't printed, but I would still have ruled as out of order under 17.2. With that in mind, I think it's important that any councillor who wishes, now that they've been informed that their amendments are inadmissible, if they wish to speak on either this or the amended motion, that they do so now. I haven't got the hands because there are...
Okay, Gerlach, can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Okay, so if Alison or whoever's hosting can flip up my amendment. And as my name was mentioned so many times when previous speakers' commentary, the first thing that I must do is state that Councillor Warrington's motion gives complete scant regard to the victims of the Omagh bomb, of which I unequivocally support. His motion falls very short and it's from the teeth out in terms of support and solidarity for the victims of the Omagh bombing. And their continuing efforts for justice should be the full and independent public inquiry. And I fully agree with what Councillor O'Coffey has said. International locateurs are the only people who can provide that quest for truth and justice. And indeed, if those people who proposed and seconded the motion were genuine about the victims' needs, they should have ensured that the regional trauma network that I was talking about is set up immediately to effectively deal with the complex and varied needs for a pathway on the adverse psychological and mental health impact that was suffered that day. I'm talking about for the victims of the Omagh bomb and all victims of the Troubles, as I did on the night when I proposed my action for the No More Delays investigations. Now, I want to point out that when I brought forward the proposal to stop the extradition of Liam Campbell, I was contacted by that campaign group and I took immediate and effective action to not cherry pick human rights or be a la carte on the menu of the 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but to support everyone's human rights. And it was to that end I wanted to see the stopping of the extradition of a man to a country that has such a heinous regime for inhuman and degrading treatment. No one should want that to happen. And for Victor Warrington to use inflamed language through the media for the past 2 weeks and describe me as he has is nothing less than despicable, and I totally refute the remarks that was made by me. Drawing a line under the past is an unfortunate situation that we cannot actually avoid because there are still so many outstanding serious issues to be addressed. On my proposal, it was not under a guise of human rights. It was most definitely on the inalienable, universal, and indivisible situation of human rights. And I hope everybody who has received my document inform themselves before the next meeting, of which I might remind Victor Warrington, it was not ratified tonight. It was referred back to committee for further discussion. And I would like to think that all right-minded people will not cherry pick those human rights. If it was Victor Warrington or indeed Earl who was going to be extradited, I would be fighting for them in the exact same way. And I just rest my case on that. Guramagat.
Okay. Councillor Michael Duff, you submitted an amendment as well. You can choose to speak now that I've informed you that your amendment is inadmissible. You can speak on a substantive motion if you wish now.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And thanks to Alison as well for ensuring that the wording of our amendment, my amendment, is on the screen for everybody. So I want to say at the outset that the Sinn Féin approach has been very carefully considered with due regard to the hurt and sensitivities of the victims of the Omagh bomb. And now that our amendment is deemed inadmissible, I just want to point out that we will be abstaining on any subsequent vote because we want our position to be very clear, not diluted in any way. And our amendment is not admitted. And what our amendment set out was A, condemnation of the Omagh bomb, support, sympathy and solidarity with the victims of the Omagh bomb and their families, and affirming the primacy of our own legal and judicial system. We don't want anyone to avoid the justice system. We don't. But we're also upholding universal human rights for Irish citizens. That is just a fact. So in relation to the amendment, the spirit of it is that this council would express our total and unequivocal condemnation of the Omagh bomb, ongoing sympathy with families, solidarity with those who were injured, and our resolve, crucially, to ensure that those who carried out this attack on the people of Omagh and beyond, and on the peace process, should face the full sanction of the legal and judicial process. And then additionally, we are calling on the Taoiseach to intervene to protect the human rights of all Irish people in matters like this, including Liam Campbell, who is currently facing extradition to Lithuania. And this council would have noted that the Supreme Court has already ruled against his extradition to Lithuania, as it found that prison conditions there could breach his right to freedom from torture, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. Be concerned, if extradited, that he would face a lengthy period in detention before his case comes to trial in conditions that have been criticised by the UN's Committee on Torture. So that's the essence of our motion, our amendment to the motion, Chair, and we just want to be very, very clear, and that's why we won't be taking any part in the voting around the motion as not amended. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have roll that up. I have still got hands up. I'm going to take Councillor Keenan now. Your amendment is not going to be presented on the screen. Is it? Can we put it on the screen? No, it came too late. But you may. Oh, there you go. There it is. There it is. Okay, we have the capacity to put it on the screen. Councillor Keenan, if you wish to speak now, do so. But bear in mind that I have viewed it as edited.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to say I fully support the families and the victims of the Omagh bomb, and I believe that a full independent inquiry, inclusive of state involvement and the role of agents, is the only way that families will get justice. And I also believe that the human rights issue of the extradition of Liam Campbell and the Omagh bomb are two separate issues, should not be connected. Liam was never convicted of the Omagh bomb, and a finding in a civil court, as Donald quite rightly said, is not a conviction. He's never been charged or convicted. The proof in a civil case is a balance of probabilities, not beyond reasonable doubt. And yeah, that's about everything. Yeah, I think it's a disgrace the way the Omagh bomb was actually brought in to a human rights issue. Liam has been extradited under no evidence. He'd never been in Lithuania. The European Court in 2018, there was a ruling, two key judgments, that Lithuania had failed in their human rights obligations in the detention and torture and ill treatment of suspects that were being held. And I think it is a disgrace that a separate issue has been brought in to affect the rights of an Irishman.
I still have 4 names up on the screen: Councillor Clark, Councillor Gannon, Councillor Baird, and Councillor Keenan. Councillor Baird's already been in once. Councillor Keenan has just spoken, so that leaves Councillor Gannon to move his amendment.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll have to speak to the motion here at the same time, but I will give my clarification to the amendment as I'm going along. This motion that has been brought tonight quite rightly points out that the recent publicity around Liam Campbell has hurt the victims and the families affected by the Omagh bomb. And I think it would be appropriate at this point, Chair, to recognise the role that this council played in this hurt in recent weeks. And as such, I'd like to offer on behalf of the SDLP an unreserved and unconditional apology to victims and their families who have suffered immeasurable hurt as a result of the proposal that was passed in a committee of this council. The SDLP has always stood against violence and those who have used it to advance political goals. It was wrong in 1970, wrong in 1998, and it's still wrong today. And I am deeply sorry for the role that we as councillors and this council played in inflicting additional pain on those who already suffered terrible loss. Since the original proposal was passed, my party has reached out to the Omagh families to offer sincere apology for what happened and to assure them of our continued support. We are extremely grateful that they have accepted the SDLP apology and have acknowledged that we have moved very quickly to put this right wrong. And of course, we will be supporting this motion this evening. Realising a mistake, apologising and rectifying it as quick as possible is leadership, and many of our political leaders today in this country could learn from this. The motion quite rightly points out the families' fight for justice, and they most certainly deserve justice and the truth about this atrocity. And that's why in our amendment we have asked for a public inquiry, because unfortunately without this action we offer solidarity but no action, and actions are what is needed to bring truth to the victims and their families. And anyone who does not support a full public inquiry does not support the fight for justice and the truth that Omagh badly needs. And I stress this, as platitudes are all well, but action speaks louder than words. So I urge the proposer and seconder to accept this amendment. This motion also discusses the ongoing extradition proceedings. This council has no role to play in extradition proceedings anywhere. We have no authority or place to intervene in the criminal justice process as it relates to Liam Campbell or anyone for that matter. It is completely outside of this council's remit, And in fact, the original proposal that brought this issue to the Council and inflicted the great hurt goes directly against our own standing orders in multiple areas, and it should never have even been heard or discussed in this Council on that night. It is for the courts to determine this issue, and I note that in making an order to surrender, the High Court has fully considered the human rights arguments made by Mr. Campbell's counsel and has given him due process, and he can use due process as well. Regarding the second change, the change in the wording around the expressing that we would like to see a quick resolution, that is because under Articles 35 to 37 in the Irish Constitution, set out the independence of the judicial system in the South, and it would be therefore unconstitutional and illegal actually for the Taoiseach to intervene in the application of the law. So that is just a slight tidying up of the wording.
Please bring your comments to a close now, just.
Yes, I'll be finished now in a second. So, Chair, where we can make a difference in this council is in supporting citizens in our district whose lives were changed totally when 29 people were murdered in Omagh. We also support the hundreds injured who are still being forced to this day to fight for acknowledgement, for truth and for justice. And where the political power exists to make a difference, we should be coming together across party lines to deliver for victims and survivors. The message that we should send should be one of unity and reconciliation, not hurt and division. The victims and survivors campaigns in this district still need to have justice and still need a full public inquiry that will bring much needed truth and clarity on the actions of all involved. And their fight for justice continues every day, and the SDLP and myself and my colleagues will continue to stand fully with them. Thank you, Chair, and I propose that amendment.
Okay. I have to now ask the original proposer, Councillor Warrington, whether he accepts that as a friendly amendment or not.
Thank you, Chair. No, we don't accept that amendment for the simple reason, sorry, we are happy enough with the second part of the amendment, but because it's all stated in the one document, we probably can't nitpick it. So we don't accept it owing to the sensitivities of the victims and survivors. We carefully chose our words in order to negate any political viewpoint. And I think certainly going with the information that I have been receiving from the different sections in Omagh is that this would possibly cause even more hurt. So that is why we kept our viewpoints away from the political scene altogether. So we won't be accepting the amendment.
Okay, that must now go to a vote to see if Councillor Gannon's amendment is passed by the council, and if it does, it becomes the substantive motion, and speaking rights will be reopened.
Order, Chairman. Councillor Irvine.
Yes.
Thank you very much. At the moment, it's only a proposal. It hasn't been seconded.
That's absolutely accurate, actually.
Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Coyle.
I will second Councillor Gannon's proposal.
Okay, well that covers off that. But thank you, Councillor Irvine, for keeping me right. As I said, that must now go to a vote because it hasn't been accepted by the proposer. I foresee division, and therefore I think we'll just go to a roll call.
Okay, Chair. Councillor Armstrong.
Against.
Councillor Baird.
Against.
Councillor Blake.
For.
Councillor Buchanan.
Against.
Councillor Campbell.
Abstain.
Councillor Clark.
Abstain.
Councillor Coyle.
For.
Councillor Curry.
I'm abstaining. It's abstain.
Councillor Deehan.
Abstain.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. Councillor Sean Donnelly.
Abstain.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
Against.
Against. Against.
Councillor Feely.
Abstain.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Abstain.
Councillor Gannon.
For.
Councillor Garrity.
For.
Councillor Green. Councillor Irvine.
Against.
Councillor Keenan.
Against.
Councillor Kelly. Catherine Kelly.
Abstain.
Councillor Podrigan Kelly.
Abstain.
Councillor Maguire.
Abstain among Molu. Abstain.
Apology from Councillor McAleer. Councillor McCaffrey.
All Mishenu, on Rune, abstain.
Councillor McCann.
Abstain.
Councillor McCloughery.
Against.
Councillor McElduff.
Abstain.
Councillor McPhillips.
For.
Councillor O'Coffey.
Abstain.
Councillor O'Reilly.
Abstain.
Councillor Rainey. Councillor Rainey.
Against.
Councillor Robinson.
Against.
Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Swift.
Human rights are not optional. Against.
Councillor Thompson.
Against.
Councillor Thornton.
Against.
Councillor Warrington.
Against.
And Councillor Wilson.
Against.
Okay, Chair, so that is 6 for, 16 against, and 15 abstentions, so that falls.
Okay, so that falls, which means that the substantive motion remains as the original. If we just wait to put that thingy back on the screen, would that be all right? Okay. We have a number of speakers, and these speaking rights aren't renewed. Therefore,
Chair, you just proceed now to the vote.
You proceed to the vote. Right, well then in that case we proceed to the vote.
Sorry, Chair, point of order.
Senators have been indicating to speak for some time. Can we please be allowed to speak on this motion?
When did you indicate, Councillor Deehan?
My hand has been up for some time. And also I've been holding back on speaking until we had the proposal of the amended motion. We weren't allowed to debate this issue when it came before us before. Please do not deny councillors the opportunity to express their opinion on this important matter.
You understand though that you will be speaking on the original motion.
I do. I understand that perfectly.
Chairman, quite clearly you stated that those people who wanted to speak on the original motion had to speak at the beginning, then subsequently the amendments would be taken. You're now changing that.
I did.
All the discussion should have been taking place on the substantive motion.
But Chair...
What do you want? Go on ahead.
The amended motion fell. So we are now reverting to the original motion. But I haven't contributed to this debate at all, and I would like the opportunity of doing so.
I'm probably stepping outside what I should do here, but go on.
Yes, well, thank you for that opportunity, Chair. Chair, I agree with Councillor Keenan that this motion should not have been linked. Solidarity for the Omagh bomb victims should not have been linked to the issue of the extradition of Liam Campbell. I think that this issue has been politicised. It has been presented as a sectarian issue and divisive. And I think that some members are guilty of being disingenuous. I have heard outrageous language expressed in the council tonight, with some councillors referring to councillors as gloating, not having common decency, and also some other councillors trivialising the issue by talking about eggs and omelettes on the faces of other councillors. I object to that language, and I object to the trivialisation of this motion. I absolutely 100% support the victims and families of those injured and bereaved through the Omagh bomb. It was an act of unparalleled barbarism, which I totally and utterly condemn. And speaking as a doctor and one who has spent her entire life trying to protect people's health, heal people, and being the GP on duty the weekend of the Omagh bomb and working for 48 hours in support of those families, I totally reject any suggestion that I am supporting the perpetrators of the Omagh bomb. I want to make that clear. But this is a disingenuous attempt to link support for the bombers versus human rights. I want to reiterate my support for the Omagh families, but Councillor Swift clearly prefaced her proposals in our previous meeting by saying it was a purely human rights issues, and I accept that. And we do know that Lithuania has a poor record on human rights. So it is something that we should concern ourselves with. Councillor Gannon is correct when he says there should be a full, public, independent inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the Omagh bomb, because the Omagh families deserve justice. Baroness O'Lone was critical of the way in which that investigation was handled. The Omagh families require justice, and that can only be brought about by a full inquiry. And Councillor Gannon is quite right. The Taoiseach has no authority over the decision whether or not to extradite Liam Campbell. So it's quite useless to write to the Taoiseach asking him to speed up the process. We will have a decision in 2 weeks, and I will look forward to that decision. I will be abstaining on this motion, but I want to reiterate my support, my total condemnation of any act of violence, and my total support for the victims and their families of the Omagh bomb. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. I require a proposer and seconder to extend, because I do believe we can get this.
Proposed, Chair, Councillor McCann.
Second, Councillor Thompson.
Okay. Anyone in disagreement, please say now. No? Grant. Okay, I have 6 speakers up here.
Chair, just a point of order from myself, please, very briefly.
Yeah.
Councillor McElduff has laid our position in terms of the motion before us, but I want to just respond to a couple of comments that's been directed to myself as chair of the P&R committee. I just want to say briefly that despite the bully boy tactics that's been displayed by some members of this council, and despite being shouted over and attempts to be talked down, I have chaired all meetings to date with integrity and impartiality and in line with our council's standing orders. And I will continue to chair all meetings with integrity, impartiality, and in line with our council standing orders. Councillor Stephen McKeon will not be talked down to or covered to bully boys by anyone. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. I think it's important that you had the opportunity to say that. Right, 1, 2, 3 more speakers. Councillor McCloughy.
Thank you, Chair. I hear councillors saying we shouldn't have included Liam Campbell in the Omagh bomb. Well, Liam Campbell has been inextricably linked with the Omagh bomb and the victims. It is the victims that have brought their distress to us. I've had numerous people contacting me in Omagh from the time of the bomb. The amount of pain and suffering this council has visited upon them, and it isn't the first time visited pain. The legacy in 2008 also caused a lot of distress with some of the actions of the council, and we need to do the best that we can to get this quickly resolved. I realise other councillors want to bring in other things, but we shouldn't get it sent back to Dublin and tell them to get on with it, whatever way they're going to deal with it, and get it over as quickly as possible without any interference from any political groupings. If some of the councillors want to propose an inquiry at a later stage, they're more welcome. There's plenty of room for motions when we eventually get to them.
Okay, Councillor McCloughy. Councillor Erskine.
Thank you, Chair. At the start of the points I want to make, I just want to say this whole issue deeply upsets me. You and I were both children when the Oma bomb happened, and I vividly remember that day as a child. And, you know, I remember my family trying to get in touch with family and friends to ensure that they weren't caught up in the bomb that day. And I have to say, that night I was physically sick. To think that our council chamber actually supported a terrorist. And in the days since, and speaking to people, I've been deeply upset. And in fact, speaking to an awful lot of people, they have been upset by this episode. And it was deeply upsetting the morning after to see that members and people on Twitter were gloating that our council chamber had supported a terrorist, had supported this proposal, that members of our chamber saw that it was fit to support this proposal. And I'm glad tonight that there is recognition that hurt was caused to innocent victims. And I hope this episode is never repeated again in our council chamber. And I hope that our council chamber is never seen again to be in support of any form of terrorism, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Erskine. My final indication is from Councillor Robert Irvine, and then I'm putting this to a vote.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll try and be short and sweet and succinct. Whether we like it or not, the two separate issues of the Oma bomb connected with Liam Campbell and the extradition of Liam Campbell to Lithuania on separate charges are linked. As Councillor Clockeray, my colleague, has said, he has been contacted by several of the family groups in regard to Oma, and they actually are linking it. Now, we as councillors are mature enough to deal with issues of conflicting interests, whether they're actual or perceived. Whether it's actual or perceived here, it is an actual conflict of interest. And those councillors that have said that they are two separate issues are living in cloud cuckoo land. They are connected, whether we like it or not, and they have to be dealt with together. And they are quite right. Several speakers have said, what is one person's human rights when they've taken away several other people's human rights in regard to the bombing? So I'm in support of the motion. Thank you, Chair.
That concludes things. I would now ask Alison to do a roll call of the vote. And that will conclude this.
Yeah. So, Chair, this is on the proposal then of Councillor Warrington, seconded by Councillor Rainey. The motion as presented, the original motion as presented on the screen. Councillor Armstrong?
For.
Councillor Baird?
For.
Councillor Blake?
For.
Councillor Buchanan?
For.
Councillor Campbell?
Abstain.
Councillor Clark?
Abstain.
Councillor Coyle?
For.
Councillor Curry?
I'm abstain. Abstain.
Councillor Deehan?
Abstain.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly? Councillor Sean Donnelly?
Abstain.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly?
For.
Councillor Elliott?
For.
Councillor Erskine?
For.
Councillor Feely?
Abstain.
Councillor Fitzgerald?
Abstain.
Councillor Gannon?
For.
Councillor Garrity?
For.
Councillor Green? Councillor Irvine?
For.
Councillor Keenan?
Against.
Councillor Catherine Kelly?
Abstaining.
Councillor Podrigan Kelly?
Abstain.
Councillor Maguire?
Cinnamon Molu, abstain.
Apology, Councillor McAleer. Councillor McCaffrey?
Tom McStaney, abstain.
Councillor McCann.
Abstain, Alison.
Councillor McCloughery.
For.
Councillor McElduff.
Tommy Astenu, Owen Wallu, abstain.
Councillor McPhillips.
For.
Councillor O'Coffey.
Abstain.
Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Rainey.
For.
Councillor Robinson.
For.
Councillor Smith.
For.
Councillor Swift.
Against.
Councillor Thompson.
For.
Councillor Thornton.
For.
Councillor Warrington.
For.
And Councillor Wilson.
For.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Don't need the hearing in me left here anyway.
Chair, just so Chair, that is 24, 2 against, and 15 abstentions. So the motion is carried.
Motion is carried, and that is the motion concluded. I now move to item 12, which is any urgent or relevant business. I am aware of two items of AOB. Barry's indicating, and I wonder if I have missed one. It has to be something that has been indicated to me beforehand. Okay. It is entirely possible, given the amount of time between meetings and the fact we haven't reached AOB before, that I may have missed. But the two I have at the minute are Councillor Gannon and Councillor Erskine, although I see other indications at the minute. I'm going to take Councillor Gannon first.
Thank you, Chair, for taking this.
Oh, and Councillor Coyle, sorry, as well. But
Sorry, Chair, you'll recall an email I sent you this morning, you acknowledged it?
yes, I did. You're absolutely right. Sorry, Councillor McElduff. Okay, go on. Sorry, Councillor Gannon.
Yes, Chair, thank you, and thank you for taking this. I've been speaking to Alison about it, and something I've raised before in the chamber at Environmental Services. It was actually raised in October of last year about investigating lights for the cottage lawn in Belcoo. I've spoken in length with Alison about it, and it's just to propose that a report be brought for the September ES meeting, or if the full info is not available, because there's no point bringing a half report, the soonest one possible. But I believe that it is only a month or two out from my conversations with Alison anyway, but I'd like to propose that, please, Chair.
Seconder?
I'd second that, Councillor Blake.
Okay.
I was going to second it there, Chris, too.
It's all right. I'm sort of anxious to get to the end of this.
Just a wee point of information for Councillor Gannon. I'd already thought a report from the council on that. Stephen Forrest has already provided a full report, of which I give back to constituents and lobbyists on the very exact same thing for the cottage meadow. And Stephen came up with very good points about why we would not engage that, of which was accepted indeed by the constituents. So maybe in the first instance, if Alison could provide that information to the councillors, it would help inform, and maybe not necessary, because it's just information that's very useful. Just on that point, I wasn't aware that's what he was going to bring up, but it's very useful. Okay.
Are you happy enough to
yes, certainly,
that?
Chair. Certainly, we can follow up.
Councillor Gannon, in the light of that, it's entirely up to you what you do with this proposal, whether you want to leave it in abeyance till you receive the information, or to push it through regardless.
Chair, I'm happy to receive the information, but I'd like to propose this anyway, because I believe the majority of the work has been done and it hasn't been given to us. That report wasn't in the past year, maybe previous, to be fair to Councillor Swift. It may have been before then and before my time, but we proposed and agreed on this in October of last year.
Okay. So we'll put it straight to a vote. Has anyone any objection to Councillor Gannon's proposal? No. Okay, that'll be passed. That will come back to us. Councillor Erskine.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, mine was just in relation to, I know we'd had a lengthy discussion about groups coming in relation to Dalradian Gold Mine. And we've already heard from suppose supporters groups of that, and I note the correspondence from some of the objectors. I just think that maybe if it was possible that we could maybe try and see about arranging a date for Dalradian to come in when we are next back up and running in September again, because I think it's very important that we do try and hear from all different sides, and I think there's quite a substantial amount of questions that need to probably be put to Dalradian. So if we could try and expedite them coming in, you know, to our council chamber to discuss some of those, if that hasn't been already progressed.
Okay.
Well, Chair, just to summarise, I suppose the situation, as Councillor Erskine has alluded to there, the Council had written out previously to 4 community organisations, one of whom has come in, and 1 did not respond and 2 indicated they were not comfortable with the proposed format by the Council. The Council reiterated that format and requested that we again engage with the groups in question. I know at the Regeneration and Community Committee you can get to correspondence, but the response from Cameo has indicated that members continue not to favour the proposed format by the Council and will not be accepting the invitation. Subsequent to the meeting, we received correspondence from Save Our Sperrins, who have said similar, that they will not be accepting the invitation to the informal meeting. So the Council had said when those positions were clarified, you would receive the Dalradian presentation last. And it's really now a matter for members, if you're satisfied that you have brought those discussions as far as you can, and to proceed with the last meeting.
Deborah?
Yeah, I think, you know, just given the given that, you know, I think we probably do need to hear from Dalradian. So, you know, that's what I would propose, that we try and find a suitable date to be found, that they can come in and discuss matters with members as well.
We have a seconder for that.
I'll second that, Chairman. Councillor Thompson.
Okay, Councillor Thompson has seconded. Are we all in agreement? If not, indicate no.
No.
Okay, we'll take a vote on that then. Let me get the other sheets. No, you got enough sheets?
Yes, sorry, Chair. Okay, Councillor Armstrong.
4.
Councillor Baird.
4.
Councillor Blake.
4.
Councillor Buchanan.
4.
Councillor Campbell.
4.
Councillor Clark.
4.
Councillor Coyle.
4.
Councillor Curry.
It's number 4.
Councillor Deehan.
4.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. Councillor Sean Donnelly.
4.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
4.
Councillor Elliott.
4.
Councillor Erskine.
4.
Councillor Feely.
4.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Ever 4.
Councillor Gannon.
4.
Councillor Garrity.
4.
Councillor Green. Councillor Irvine.
4.
Councillor Keenan.
Against.
Councillor Catherine Kelly.
4.
Councillor Podrigan Kelly.
4.
Councillor Maguire.
4.
Apology from Councillor McAleer. Councillor McCaffrey.
Lahayan Malta, 4.
Councillor McCann.
4.
Councillor McClockery.
4.
Councillor McElduff.
However, 4.
Councillor McPhillips.
4.
Councillor O'Cloughy.
Against.
Councillor O'Reilly.
4.
Councillor Rainey.
4.
Councillor Robinson.
4.
Councillor Smith.
4.
Councillor Swift.
Against.
Councillor Thompson.
4.
Councillor Thornton.
4.
Councillor Warrington.
4.
And Councillor Wilson.
4.
Chair, that's carried 3 against. And
Okay, if we can speedily move through this, Councillor Michael Duff and then Councillor Coyle. That's all I have been notified of, as I'm aware.
Chair, Councillor Armstrong, I did request
if I could also speak to AOB.
Need a bit quick. Well, we get to that's another issue. Councillor Michael Duff.
Okay, I'll be very quick. St Eugene's Brass Reed Band in Oma, fantastic community resource, real asset to the town and district. They currently operate out of a small hall off the Tamlet Road in Oma, Culmore Old School, it's known as to local people, and they have a lease. But it has recently been subjected to incidents of vandalism and antisocial behaviour, and there's a desire on their part to close off the area with a fence. Can I ask the council, community services and technical services to explore together what support might be available to and to affect that improvement? Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Yeah, I'm assuming you wish to second that.
Yeah, Chair, I support what Councillor McAduff has said. So Eugene's band, a great band, needs to be supported all over. I'm happy enough to second what he said there. I don't know if he made it a proposal there, but I'm happy enough to second it if it is. Thank you, Chairman.
Proposed and seconded.
No, proposed and now seconded. Any objections? Okay, that's passed as well. Councillor McAduff, Councillor Armstrong, I found your email, and then it's Councillor Coyle, because taking them in order that they came in. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick request on behalf of Motorhome Ireland, Total Motorhome Ireland, to give an address to Council at an informal meeting prior to September's RNC to just educate us on what the fraternity of motorhome travellers, how they can contribute to our tourism economy, and just request that our council are able to hear their presentation, please. Thank you.
Okay, seconder.
I'll second that, please.
Okay, seconder. Anyone? That's so proposed and seconded. Anyone wish to vote against this? Please indicate now. No. Okay, that's
Chair, I would. Sorry. I would just note, Chair, we'll certainly endeavour to fit in within that time frame, but we do have quite a number of presentations to accommodate. But we note that as the preferred timescale.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Councillor Coyle.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No, from today, community centres and halls will be able to reopen. A lot of volunteers for their tremendous work that they have done through the pandemic, but they have lost revenue and they want to get classes back up and running. I was wondering if the council could send a letter getting clarification of the guidance for community halls so that they can safely reopen and make sure that they have socially distant and maybe through our community services and our officers that it can be given out to all community groups so that they can make sure that they are applying with the guidance.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that?
Chair, I'm quite happy to second that, Councillor Thornton.
Okay. Anyone wish to vote against? Please indicate now. Okay, we'll take that as passed as well. Alison, you have one item of AOB, I believe.
Yes, Chair. Just very briefly, members will be aware that the Council normally pays an annual subscription to the Psalm Association. The notification of that has come in following our committee meetings, and it is for the same amount as previously, £1,000 plus VAT. So approval is sought to pay the yearly subscription, which will bring us to the period ending March 21, Chair.
Okay.
I'll propose.
Alan Rennie has proposed.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Coyle. Anyone wish to record objections to that? Please say no. Nope. Okay, that is passed as well. So now we move on to confidential business. We keep motoring. We will just
need a proposer.
Need a proposer and seconder.
Proposal for the committee.
Proposed by Councillor Baird, seconded by Councillor McClough. Well, I think I heard Councillor McClough first. All in agreement?